Hey guys, tonight we're doing something special. You've had your cozy nights and warm tea, but tonight you're not in your bed. Nope. Tonight you wake up chained, sore, and deeply regretting, well, whatever got you here. Welcome to a medieval dungeon, where the only escape is through some highly unlikely divine intervention, or maybe just a swift execution. Spoiler, you probably won't survive this, but it's okay. We're here to soak it all in, metaphorically speaking. Hopefully. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I mean, we are diving into medieval suffering together, so that kind of bond deserves some recognition, right? Also, drop your city and the current time in the comments. I want to know who's watching this at 3:14 AM while eating cereal and re-evaluating their life. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You come to in pitch blackness, not the kind you find in your bedroom with the lights off. This is heavy, suffocating dark. It feels like a blanket pressed against your face. You're lying on something hard, cold and slightly wet. Your back aches, your head pulses, and your wrists are sore. Chains, you're chained. Somewhere in the distance, metal grinds against metal. A groan echoes, then a scream, human, unmistakably. It starts strong, defiant even. Then it breaks apart like a crumbling wall dragged out until it dies into choking. Silence follows, deep and endless. Welcome to your first minute in the dungeon. You try to sit up, but the chain yanks tight. Your wrists are cuffed to the wall behind you. The stone is rough, damp, and covered in something slimy. Moss, probably, or mould, or something far worse. You can smell it. Rotting hay, sewage, old blood. Something sharp and acidic lingers too, like iron left too long in water. Your eyes adjust barely. Shapes emerge from the shadows. Iron bars in front of you, thick and cruelly spaced. A flicker of torchlight far down the corridor offers glimpses. A hallway stretching into darkness, punctuated by more cells, more suffering. You catch the echo of a cough. A wet, rattling cough that sounds terminal. You're not alone. Then come the footsteps. Boot against stone, heavy, deliberate. They get louder, closer, until a key scrapes into a lock with all the grace of a rusty saw. The cell door creaks open, and you flinch from the sudden light of a torch. The man holding it is worse than any nightmare. His face is leathered, scorched from years of heat. One eye is fogged white, the other burns with sick delight. He wears layers of thick wool and cracked leather, a ring of keys dangling from his belt and a cudgel in his free hand. "Fresh meat," he grunts. His voice is as smooth as gravel. He doesn't need to say anything else. He grabs your ankle and drags you forward. The chain scrapes and then snaps taut. Your body jars, but he doesn't stop until your nose is inches from his boot. You barely get the word "please" out before he kicks you square in the ribs. Your body folds like wet cloth. The air leaves your lungs, and for a moment, it feels like your heart stopped. You try not to cry out. Crying out here is like bleeding in shark-infested water. "You're mine now," he growls, and slams the cell door behind him. "Welcome." Now your head throbs for a new reason. You lie on your side, gasping as the cell adjusts around you. Every inch of it feels designed for suffering. The walls are stone blocks, blackened with age and grime. There's straw on the floor, wet, patchy, crawling with tiny things. You don't want to know. There's a bucket in the corner. You can guess what it's for. Next to it, something that might have been food once. A stale crust of bread and a bit of meat that's mostly mould now. Your stomach lurches. It's a cruel twist. Hunger strong enough to tempt you. Nausea strong enough to stop you. You try to breathe through your mouth, but even that carries the taste of rot. Somewhere near your feet, something skitters, a rat, or maybe two. You don't move. Maybe if you're still, they'll just pass by. They don't. One climbs over your leg, bold and fat. It pauses, sniffs. You can feel its wiry whiskers against your skin, and then it bites. You shout, reflexively. You jerk away, but the chain yanks again. Pain shoots up your arms. The rat scurries off. You can hear its squeaks as it disappears under the straw. So yeah, that's the first 10 minutes. Now time stops meaning anything. There are no windows, no bells, no light except what flickers past your cell when guards change shifts, or when someone is taken. Sometimes you hear the dragging, sometimes just a sudden cry and the slam of a door. Other times, silence, long and hollow, the kind that plays tricks on your mind. You think you hear voices, whispers, maybe in your own head, maybe in the walls, hard to say. A historical side note here, most medieval dungeons weren't actually built underground, at least not initially. They were often tower rooms, later converted to subterranean nightmares when castles expanded and kings got creative with cruelty. You, unfortunately, have landed in the upgraded version. Below ground, no airflow, no light, just enough space to curl into a ball and wonder where everything went wrong. And speaking of the medieval dungeon design committee, they didn't bother with drains. The floors here slope ever so slightly toward a corner that reeks of decay. Waste, water, blood, it all pools there. And you're lying just above it. But hey, quirky fact, some prisoners in real medieval dungeons were technically free to leave. They just had to find the key, kill the guards, and survive the labyrinthine passages built to disorient invaders. Totally doable, right? As your first hour fades into the next, reality dulls. You stop flinching at the rat squeaks. You forget the sting in your side, even the hunger becomes a background throb, like a memory you can't quite place. And that's when you hear it again. The scream. Different this time. Shorter, higher, female. Somewhere down the hall, a new arrival meets their own introduction. You don't envy them, but you're not about to feel sorry either. Empathy is a luxury down here, like warmth, or light, or hope. The scream fades, swallowed by stone, and you sit there, half curled, half numb, not sure where pain ends and you begin. Every minute stretches like it's trying to kill you slower than the rats or the guards. Then more footsteps. Different ones this time, faster, less deliberate. The jangling of keys doesn't accompany these. No torchlight, just a door flung open and a fresh sack of meat, well, person shoved inside. It's not your cell, but one just across from yours. You watch, blinking through the dark as the guards grunt and kick the new prisoner into a heap. The door slams shut again, and their torchlight casts long shadows that slither over the walls and vanish with them. You're left with the moans of someone else asking the same question you did hours ago. Where am I? Your own body has started to tremble. Not from cold, though the damp here cuts to the bone, but from the slow realization that this isn't a bad dream. This is it. This is your new reality. And then, your cell door opens again. The same guard from earlier. He doesn't knock. He just appears like a recurring nightmare, dragging something behind him. You catch a glimpse of a new prisoner's robe, torn, stained, still warm. He tosses it into the corner and steps inside. Before you can scramble away, he grabs the back of your neck and pushes you forward onto the ground again. Your chin hits stone and pain shoots up into your skull. Then he releases you with a grunt. "No funny business," he growls, as if there's anything funny about this place. The door closes. The lock clicks. He's gone again, and you're left face down in a place that now smells worse than before. It isn't just mold and blood anymore. It's fear sweat. It's unwashed skin. It's desperation thick enough to taste. You crawl to the side, your wrists aching from the pull of the chain, and you finally get a full look at your surroundings. The cell is maybe 6 feet wide, 8 feet long. A sad, sagging pile of straw in one corner that no longer pretends to be bedding. In the far corner, your communal bucket, full to a dangerous level. The stone walls are covered in scratches, some deep, some barely etched. Some are words, you squint, tracing letters with your eyes. Names mostly, prayers, curses. A tally of days, crossed out after number 12. A message carved deeper than the rest. God doesn't come here. You don't doubt it, and then you see them. Your cellmates. 3 figures huddled against the far wall, in varying states of deterioration. You didn't notice them before because they barely moved. Like shadows painted into the corners. One of them coughs, a raw, phlegmy sound that makes your stomach churn. The other 2 glance at you briefly without much interest. One mutters something under his breath. The other just rocks slightly back and forth. They don't greet you. No introductions. It's not that kind of place. You lean back against the wall and try to breathe shallowly. Even inhaling feels like an invitation for disease here. The closest man finally speaks. "You knew?" he croaks. You nod. "Don't get attached to anything," he says. "Or anyone. That's rule 1. You manage a hoarse whisper. "What's rule 2? He grins, and it's missing most of its teeth. "Don't ask questions." Charming. The woman beside him shifts. Her hands are covered in red welts. Self-inflicted or from the guards, you can't tell. She hasn't spoken yet, but she looks at you like you're already a ghost. It's a look you'll see often. You try to ask why they're here, but your voice barely comes out. Still, the coughing man must be used to first-aid curiosity. Her? Witch, probably. Or maybe just talk back to a priest. He gestures to the woman. Me? I stole a sheep. Got hungry. That last part sounds almost funny, until you remember you're one rat bite away from doing the same. The third man finally stops rocking and lifts his head. His eyes are wide, white-rimmed and shaking. Don't listen to them, he whispers. We're all here for nothing, for sport. He turns his head toward the wall as if listening to something none of you can hear. Used to be a scribe, the coughing man says. He wrote something the wrong way. Now he writes in his sleep. And sure enough, the man's finger twitches along the stone wall, mimicking invisible letters. You settle into your corner, your body stiff and time keeps slipping sideways. No clocks here, just the rhythm of breathing, the drip of water, and the growing awareness that you will not be leaving the cell with your sanity intact. Historically speaking, medieval dungeons weren't the clean-cut, organised prison systems we like to imagine. They were messy, improvised, and used more as holding tanks before interrogation or execution. That means nobody's keeping track of your name, or how long you've been here, or if you're still breathing. Fun fringe fact? In certain dungeons, especially under castles built during the 14th century, there were oubliettes, small vertical shafts where prisoners were dropped in and literally forgotten. The name even comes from the French word oublier, meaning to forget. You think of that as you stare at the ceiling, wondering if you're in one now and just haven't figured it out yet. One of your cellmates farts audibly. Nobody flinches. This is what dignity looks like here. A bodily function performed without shame, without comment. And then, for no reason at all, the rocking man starts to laugh, a strange broken chuckle that rises and falls like a child trying to mimic joy. The other two ignore him. You try, you really do. But in this echo chamber of madness, even a laugh sounds like a scream. You don't sleep, not really. At some point your head tilts forward and your body goes slack, but your mind never lets go. It hovers, on edge, twitching at every sound. You wake from nothing with your heart racing like you've missed a step on a staircase, except the fall never ends. When your eyes open again, it's still dark. Of course, there's no sun down here, no moonlight, just an eternal twilight of shadows and the occasional flicker of a passing torch. You've started to recognise the cadence of the guards' steps. Some are heavier, some more casual, like they've long since stopped being afraid of the screams. You're rubbing your wrist where the shackle has already worn the skin raw, when a soft scuffle in the straw draws your attention. Your cellmates are shifting, not all at once, but slowly, with a kind of tension you hadn't seen before. Something's different. The woman, the supposed witch, sits up fully for the first time. She whispers a single word. Company. You hear the latch. The door to the next cell opens with a creak, and a muffled grunt echoes in the hall. Someone's being dragged, no, carried. Heavy steps, then a wet thud as the body hits the ground. You don't see it, but you hear everything. Then the metal squeal of hinges, another door, another person dropped like spoiled meat. It's not until the third door opens, yours, that your cellmates truly react. The rocking scribe stops, mid-sway. The coughing man leans forward. The witch whispers something under her breath you don't understand. Latin? Maybe. The guard doesn't enter this time. He throws something into the cell. It lands with a sickening slap against the straw. A body, barely alive. Face down, arms tied behind his back, the door slams again, and the guard disappears. You crawl over, instinct taking over before fear can talk you out of it. The man is moaning faintly. His hair is soaked, but not from water. You touch his shoulder, and he twitches violently. His face is a swollen map of bruises, one eye shut completely, his lips split in 3 places. There are burn marks along his arms, angry red welts that seep something yellow and awful. You try to talk to him, but he doesn't respond, just stares at the wall with a look you're starting to recognise. Resignation. The witch finally speaks. Her voice is low but steady. They'll keep him a few days, break what's left. Then he disappears. What did he do? You ask. The coughing man chuckles. Wrong family name, that's all it takes sometimes. You look back at the man. He could be a noble, or a farmer. Doesn't matter here. Down here, everyone's the same flavour of broken. You help him onto his side. He groans, but doesn't resist. Pum. Your fingers brush something hard at his waist. A piece of bone? Oh no. Wood. A rosary, half charred, tied to his belt with a frayed bit of string. Religious or just hopeful? Either way, he won't be holding a mass anytime soon. The scribe hums under his breath. A tune you can't place. Off-key, circular. Like a lullaby turned inside out. And just when things feel like they might settle, you hear the scratching. It starts faint, almost like your own heartbeat. Then louder. Faster. From the walls, the floor, even the ceiling. Rats. They've come back, and they're not sneaky anymore. They know you're too weak to stop them. One of them scampers across your foot. You flinch. Another dives into the straw pile and disappears. You swear it drags something with it. A piece of meat? Or something worse? The witch smacks her hand on the floor, scattering the nearest one. They take fingers if you don't move, she says, completely serious. You don't sleep after that, obviously. Hours, or maybe minutes, pass. Time blurs. You catch yourself counting again. Stones, breaths, anything to keep your mind from unravelling. The man they dumped in your cell stirs, and he tries to speak. His tongue is swollen, his voice a low rasp. "Help," he says. You lean in. "I'm here." "No," he wheezes. "Don't. They'll think you're helping." You realise what he means. Association is poison down here. Just showing sympathy can get you another session in the chamber. But you're past that. You're all past that. Too late, you mutter, and prop him up anyway. The coughing man watches. "That's rule 3, he says. "What?" He smiles grimly. "Don't be Noel. Doesn't end well." You want to argue, but you don't have the strength, and maybe he's right. Historical side note, most torture dungeons weren't just about extracting confessions, they were also about spectacle, psychological warfare. A broken man in a cell was as effective as a public hanging. You didn't need to see the devices, just the aftermath. Fringe fact, in some 13th century dungeons, guards would let the rats breed inside a corpse to encourage a healthier population of pests. Why? Because they'd eventually be used in certain tortures, alive, teeth first. You hear the scratching again and try not to imagine. You lean back against the wall and close your eyes, not to sleep, but to think. You wonder who remembers you're down here. If anyone does. Would they care? Would they even be allowed to? You start to picture the sky just for a moment. Clouds, rain, something real. The scribe hums louder. He's moved on to tapping again. That same pattern. Knock, pause, knock, knock, pause. The witch hums along like they're sharing a secret rhythm. You wonder what it means. A message, a code, a prayer? The man you helped shifts, his breath shallow but steady now. For how long, no one can say. You can already hear the next set of footsteps coming down the hall. Heavy, familiar. The witch sighs. New day. The footsteps slow outside your door. A pause. Just long enough to make you hope they'll keep moving. Of course they don't. The key slides into the lock like a whisper. A mechanical click follows. The handle turns. You and your cellmates go still, barely breathing. Even the scribe halts his tapping. It's amazing how quiet 4 people can be when they think one more moment of attention might snap their threadbare lives in 2. The door swings open. A silhouette fills the frame. Tall, broad, wrapped in layers of animal skin and stained cloth. He carries a torch in one hand, something large and wrapped in a burlap sack slung over his shoulder in the other. You don't need to guess what it is. The sack groans. With a single step forward, he dumps it onto the floor. The body inside twitches. It's not a fresh arrival. It's a returning one. The torturer, or one of them anyway, grunts as he turns to leave. Before he does, he kicks the half-burned torch into the straw pile. It lands with a hiss, casting flickering shadows across your cell. Then the door slams, the lock snaps shut, and you're left again in Hell's waiting room. The man in the sack groans and begins to shift. You realise it's not a sack at all, it's a makeshift restraint. Burlap tied tight with ropes, holding the limbs in a cruel twist. You approach carefully, half expecting him to lash out, but when you untie the knots and peel the sack back, he barely moves. His face is streaked with dried blood and one eye is completely gone. The socket is crusted over, sealed by what looks like a mixture of grime, and whatever passed for antiseptic here. Maybe just spit and hope. His fingers are broken in multiple directions, some bent backward at angles the body never intended. His skin is purple in places, black in others. He looks at you with his remaining eye. There's something strange in it. Not pleading, not pain, just emptiness. The look of someone who's fallen so far they've landed at the bottom and started digging. What did they do to him, you whisper? The coughing man shrugs. Iron shoes, maybe, or the press. Could be the Maiden if he got the good room. Good room, the witch chuckles softly. Every chamber has its own name, some worse than others. Maiden's quick if you're lucky. Just don't get the cradle. The scribe whispers, the cradle sings? You don't ask? You really don't want to know. And yet, a part of you does, because not knowing feels like weakness. Feels like something they'll use against you when your turn comes. The witch leans forward. Want to know what's funny? Her voice is a cracked whisper, dry and sharp. We're in the best part. The holding cells. Before the real fun begins, she gestures around. This is the lounge. You sit back, dizzy, and realise the smell in the room has changed. Not stronger, just deeper, layered, like fresh blood mixed with burned flesh, sweat, and fear. A sensory stew that settles in your lungs like fog. The scribe has started tapping again, louder now. Knock, pause, knock, knock. It repeats like a metronome for your unravelling thoughts. The man you unwrapped lets out a sound that might be a laugh or a sob, then silence again. You retreat to your wall, cradling your knees. Sleep is impossible, but exhaustion takes the reins. You drift, hovering in that realm between dreaming and delirium, where memories bubble up in flashes. A warm meal, a familiar face, a door closing, chains, a drip wakes you. From the ceiling, water plinks down onto your shoulder. Cold and rhythmic, one drop every 5 seconds. You count, 1, 2, 3, and you lose count at 34. When you realise it's not the ceiling, it's a leak from the cell above, probably runoff from someone else's misery. You rub it away with your sleeve. The damp makes your skin itch. Everything itches down here. Maybe it's the lice. You've stopped caring. First time? The coughing man asks suddenly. You nod. Yeah. They'll break you tomorrow or the next day. Don't matter. You'll beg before the week's done. The witch smiles without humour. We all do. And that's the part that gets you. The calm acceptance, the certainty. Not if, but when. Hope doesn't live down here. It visits maybe, but never stays. Historical note. Medieval torturers weren't necessarily psychopaths. Many were state employees, trained, paid and expected to get results. Confessions meant convictions, and convictions meant control. The torture wasn't random, it was bureaucratic. Efficient, in its own horrific way. Fringe fact. Some inquisitors kept detailed notes on pain thresholds, like medieval scientists. They'd jot down things like, subject screamed at 2 turns of the rack, passed out at 4, all very clinical. They even gave out pay bonuses for particularly fast or creative confessions. You think of that while watching the man with the broken face drift in and out of consciousness. Someone likely got a bonus for his condition. The witch leans back, her eyes on the ceiling. They say above us is the chapel. Pretty, ain't it? Stone and stained glass. While down here, she doesn't finish the sentence. Does not need to. You wonder how many feet of stone separate you from the people praying above. If anyone ever hears the screams, if they do they pretend it's just wind? The scribe suddenly stops tapping and whispers something to himself. What's he saying, you ask? The coughing man sighs. He's writing again. Poetry, maybe. Doesn't share much anymore. You look at the man. His lips move soundlessly. His finger traces the wall. You crawl over and read the words carved there earlier, now clearer in the torch's dying light. In the belly of kings the truth is devoured. You don't know what it means. Maybe he doesn't either. But it sticks in your mind, clings like the stink in the air. The rats return, a fresh batch. Bolder now. They circle the broken man in the straw, sniffing. One climbs up on his chest. He doesn't move. You slap it away. It squeals and scurries off. Why bother? The coughing man asks. You don't answer. You're not sure yourself. You lose track of time again. Maybe it's the constant dampness, or the way the darkness starts pressing in like a living thing. But your sense of what's real starts to unravel. You try counting again, your breaths, your heartbeats, the drips from the ceiling, but everything blends together. Minutes feel like hours, hours like days, and then, like clockwork, or whatever sorry excuse for a schedule they keep here, dinner arrives, if you can call it that. There's no grand entrance, no tray with a lid, no clinking of silverware, just a metallic clang outside the cell as a bucket hits the ground, followed by a a door creaking open, and the unmistakable sound of boots. The torchlight returns, casting familiar twisted shadows. You flinch before you even see him. The same guard. You don't know his name and you don't care. His face is greasy, beard matted with sweat and filth, eyes bloodshot but alert. He doesn't speak as he tosses something at you, a hard object wrapped in a dirty cloth. It hits the floor with a dull thud and rolls to your feet. You unwrap it carefully. Inside, a crust of bread. Mouldy, dry as parchment, green on one side. And something else. A greyish slab of what might once have been meat. You can't be sure. It smells like boiled shoe leather and salt, no water. Of course not. Eat slow, the coughing man says, or you'll just throw it back up. You glance at him. His lips are cracked, his gums pale. He tears off a piece of his own crust and chews the whole like it's a ritual. Mechanical, slow, resigned. The witch is already nibbling on hers, eyes distant. The scribe doesn't even reach for the food. He just hums. You force yourself to take a bite. The bread crumbles into dry paste in your mouth. It scratches your throat going down. The meat is worse, tough, stringy, cold. It tastes of rotten iron, and chewing it feels like punishment. Still, your stomach growls in gratitude. The broken man, the one tossed in like garbage, hasn't moved. His lips twitch. Maybe in a dream, or maybe he's dying slower than expected. You tear a piece of bread off an inch closer, pressing it gently against his mouth. "Don't," the witch says without looking up. "He needs it. He can't eat. He's gone inside. But he's breathing. For now." You press anyway. The bread leaves a smear of mould on his lips. He doesn't react. You back away and finish the rest of your own portion in silence. Once the guard's footsteps fade, the rats return. They're faster now, more aggressive. They've learned your habits. One darts in and snatches a crust from beside the scribe's unmoving leg. Another chews on the rope near the broken man's feet. You stomp and they scatter, but you know they'll be back. They always come back. The coughing man laughs, a shallow wheeze of a sound. "Better company than the guards," he says. "At least rats don't lie." The witch leans over and squints at you. "Where were you taken from?" she asks. You hesitate. What does it matter? But the question hangs there, soft and real, like a thread to the world outside. "North," you say finally, "a village near the coast." "Family?" You nod. "Wife, daughter," she snorts. "Forget them." You blink. "They're already forgetting you." The coughing man shakes his head. "She's not wrong. The world doesn't wait for ghosts." "I'm not dead," you say, quieter than you mean to. "No," the witch replies, "but you're not exactly living either." You sit back, the bread lump heavy in your stomach, and your mind drifts to their faces, your wife's laugh, your daughter's tiny fingers grabbing your sleeve. You wonder if they were told you disappeared, or if they think you ran away, or maybe they've already moved on. Maybe someone else is sitting in your chair, eating your meals, living your life. You feel something crack inside, quietly, no sound, just fracture. Historical reality check. Most people who vanished into a medieval dungeon didn't reappear. Trials weren't public, sentences weren't announced. Some people went in for questioning and were never seen again. Families might wait years for news, never getting a body, never hearing a word, just gone. Quirky fact, some prisoners carved "I was here" into the walls, alongside prayers, crude drawings, and confessions. One dungeon wall even had a recipe for stew, possibly written by someone clinging to normalcy through food they'd never taste again. A desperate reminder of the world above. You stare at your cell wall now more closely. There are carvings here too. A name, Marguerite, a stick figure with wings, the phrase "no sun in 4 weeks", and a tiny detailed drawing of a cat. Just a cat. Big eyes, curled tail, probably someone's pet, probably someone who missed home too much to forget. The scribe notices your interest and speaks for the first time in hours. "Drawn by a baker," he whispers. "Said his cat waited for him. Said he'd get out and find her." "Did he?" you ask, barely above a murmur. The scribe smiles faintly. "We all find something, eventually." The witch mutters something under her breath. A curse? A prayer? You don't ask. You lie back again, trying to breathe through your mouth to avoid the stench. It doesn't help. It's soaked into your skin now. You are the smell, the damp, the rot, the waste. It's all part of you. The torchlight has faded, leaving you in near blackness again. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to escape. Just for a second. The coughing man breaks the silence. First time I saw a man die was in this room. No one responds. That seems to be enough for him. Didn't scream, just sighed, like he was letting go of something heavy. The witch nods slowly. It's a kind of freedom. You don't respond. You just stare into the dark, letting their words settle in your bones. The rats are quieter now. You hear them, but more distant, as if they've retreated deeper into the walls. Or maybe you've just gotten used to them. You curl into yourself, trying not to feel the cold straw against your cheek. And somewhere, far off, another scream rises. The scream keeps going. It climbs the walls like smoke, seeping through stone and iron, echoing down the corridor until it scrapes against your nerves. You've heard plenty of them by now, each one different. Some are quick and shrill, others are long and low, drawn from someplace deep in the body that's meant to stay quiet forever. But this one's different. This one sounds like it's tearing itself apart. Your cellmates don't react, not anymore. The coughing man stares at the floor like it owes him money. The witch hums something tuneless. The scribe taps once sharply, then stops. Even the rats pause, listening, as if they too recognize something sacred about this particular misery. Then silence, abrupt, the kind that makes your heart stop. You swallow, realizing how dry your mouth is. That last crust of bread might as well have been dust. You'd kill for water. You probably already have. You just don't remember. You shift to stretch your legs and something brushes your ankle. A soft bump, then wait. You jump, but not fast enough. By the time you look down, the rat is already scampering up your shin. It's big, fat, its fur slick with filth, eyes glinting like marbles. You kick out instinctively, slamming your heel into the wall. The rat thumps to the ground and scurries off, squealing. You can feel where its claws scratched your skin. The blood oozes slowly, warm and oddly comforting. Proof you're still alive. You get used to them, the witch says quietly. No, you don't, the coughing man adds. You just get slower. The broken man in the corner groans. He's still alive. Somehow. His body hasn't moved, but he makes noise now, barely. A deep, almost gurgling moan. You crawl to him again, checking his lips, his eyes, the strange bubbling breath rattling in his chest. He's not going to make it, you say, glancing at the witch. She doesn't look up. None of us do. You find yourself talking anyway. To him, whispering nonsense, really. Small words just to keep him anchored, just to pretend you're doing something that matters. The scribe watches you from the corner. His eyes are wide again. His lips move silently. Then he starts tapping, slowly. Tap, 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 tap. It's different this time. Not the usual rhythm. A new one. Morse, code, a message. The witch closes her eyes and begins to whisper along with it. Soft syllables in a forgotten tongue. A prayer, maybe, a spell, or just a shared hallucination. You lean your head back against the wall, muscles stiff from the cold. Your wrists burn from where the shackles have rubbed your skin raw. You flex your fingers, numb and trembling. You look down at your legs, bug bites, bruises, and that rat scratch turning angry red already. You try not to think about infection, or gangrene, or what they do down here if they need to amputate. You can guess. It probably involves a candle and a screaming match with fate. Then you hear it again, the squeaking. Not just one rat. Dozens, maybe more. This time they don't scatter when you sit up. They're everywhere. A wave of fur and claws crawling over each other, spilling from holes in the walls, from cracks in the stone, from under the straw. They swarm toward the broken man first. His breath hitches, maybe sensing them, maybe dreaming. One crawls across his face. You swat it away, then another, and another. Your movements grow frantic, but there are too many. Help me, you shout. They're going to... No point, the coughing man says, not even looking. They know when it's over. You can't accept that. You reach for the man, shaking him. Wake up, please. But his eyes are half-lidded, rolling back, and the groan that escapes him is more exhale than anything else. One final push of air like a sigh. And then, stillness. The rats surge forward. You back away, heart pounding, bile rising in your throat. The witch watches with a hollow expression. Don't look, she murmurs. Just let him go. You curl into the farthest corner, turning your back. But the sounds still reach you, the wet noises, the squeals, the tearing. Rats do what rats do. It's their world now. You're just a warm obstacle. Eventually it quiets. The rats vanish as quickly as they came, leaving behind a shredded shape in the straw. Not a person anymore, just pieces. The torchlight down the hall flickers again. You can hear metal on stone, someone's coming. Another check-in, a new victim. Maybe they're here to remove the body, but you doubt it. Disposal isn't urgent down here. Nothing is. A face appears at the bars. A different guard this time, younger, cleaner. Eyes that don't look dead yet. He peers in, wrinkles his nose, and curses under his breath. God's mercy, he mutters, gagging. Then he throws something through the bars. It lands with a clink, a dented tin cup filled with sloshing water. Real water. You stare at it like it's a hallucination. You get one, he says. No more till morning. Then he walks away, fast, like being near you too long might be contagious. You crawl to the cup, fingers trembling. You bring it to your lips. The water is lukewarm, tastes of rust and mould. It's the best thing you've ever had. You drain half in a gulp, then stop. You force yourself to breathe. The second half goes down slower. It washes the taste of death from your mouth, but not from your mind. You place the empty cup beside you. The witch is watching. Should have saved some, she says. Needed it. We all need things. You lie back, shaking. Every muscle aches. Your bones feel hollow. Your skin is tight and burning. A historical side note, in actual medieval dungeons, rats were more than just a nuisance. They were part of the psychological torture. Guards would withhold food, let the cells fester, and release vermin knowing what they'd do to the bodies. There are reports of rats being used deliberately, placed in buckets, heated from behind so they'd burrow into flesh to escape. Whether that's folklore or fact is still debated, but down here you don't doubt a word of it. The scribe leans over suddenly and begins scratching new words into the wall. You squint to read them. The rats know who's next. You swallow. Hard. The witch lays down again, back to you. Get some sleep, she mutters. You know you won't, not after that, but you close your eyes anyway, and try to pretend. You don't sleep, again. Your eyes close, but your mind stays wide open, running laps around every horrible sound and memory. The stench of the dead man, what's left of him, still hangs in the air like a warning. Even the rats are quiet now, like they're satisfied for the night. You lie there in the dark, cheek against the stone floor, your breath shallow and sticky. And somewhere between one ragged exhale and the next, you hear something that makes your skin crawl all over again. A metallic creak. It starts low, slow, like an old hinge stiff with rust. Then it drags out. Louder and deeper, the sound of tortured iron groaning under weight. The other prisoners hear it too. Even the scribe lifts his head from his corner, tapping halts mid-beat. The coughing man mutters, "She's awake." The witch hisses softly, "The Iron Maiden." You freeze. You've heard the name before. Whispers in the dark, stories passed like cursed relics. But it was just a device, right? A thing in books, something collectors put in museums to make children feel brave and queasy. But down here, it's not a dusty relic. It's real. And it's not a what, it's a where. You know that now. You strain your ears, listening for screams. That's the logical follow-up, right? The creak, then the scream. But none comes. Just that long, groaning metal sound. Then silence. Somehow worse. The kind of silence that tightens around your ribs like rope. The witch whispers. They don't always scream. Sometimes they're too far gone. The coughing man adds. Sometimes they scream after. In pieces. You want to ask what it actually is, what the Iron Maiden does, but the words get stuck in your throat. Instead, you just shiver. Not from cold, but from that unique sensation of knowing something horrible is close. That you could be next. Because that's how it works here. There's no schedule, no calendar with your name circled in blood. Just a guard's whim or a noble's grudge, a whispered rumour. A bad dream someone turns into your death warrant. Time passes, or maybe it doesn't. It's hard to tell anymore. Your cellmates return to their habits, coughing, humming, staring. The scribe resumes his tapping, now erratic, offbeat, like his thoughts have gone crooked. You lean against the wall, head tilted back, eyes open, watching the shadow of a rat crawl across the ceiling beams. At least you think it's a rat. It might be your imagination doing a little puppet show for your mental health. Then you hear it again. Another creak, much closer this time. Not the same metallic groan. This is a door. A heavy one. Stone on iron. It scrapes open, and light spills into the hallway from a room you've never seen. Boots, footsteps, 4 of them, maybe 5, all marching in a rhythm that screams authority. You press against the back wall, heart pounding. The guard from before appears, the young one with the still human eyes. Behind him walks someone new, a tall figure in thick robes, hood drawn. He moves slowly, deliberately, like he's savouring every footstep. He carries nothing, needs nothing. The guards call him the physician, but down here he's a myth. The coughing man mutters, "Torturer's surgeon, fixes what they want broken again." You notice something in his hand, a leather pouch. It swings lightly at his side, dark stains marking the bottom. It could be tools, it could be something worse. The whisperers say he doesn't speak. They're right. He stops in front of the cell across from yours. The door creaks open. You hear movement inside, chains rattling, a whimper, the scuff of someone being dragged. Then the scream comes, short, broken, then silence again. The door slams shut. You close your eyes, jaw clenched. No one talks. The hallway returns to stillness. The witch finally speaks. That's worse than the maiden. You don't ask why. Instead, you look toward the far end of the hall where the corridor bends and vanishes. Somewhere down that way is the room. The room. The one everyone refers to in cryptic mutterings. They never name it, like it'll become more real if you say it out loud. The scribe finally carves a new message into the wall. Steel sings louder than skin. You trace the words with your fingers, trying to feel some meaning in them. Maybe it's poetry, maybe it's prophecy. You don't know anymore. Then you hear a whisper. Not from the cell, not from the hallway, from inside the wall. It's faint. 2 voices whispering back and forth. You press your ear to the cold stone, tap, pause, tap, tap. You knock back. Just once. Silence, then another knock, one long, one short. You glance at the witch. Do you hear that? She nods. We all do eventually. Is it someone else? Or something else? The coughing man adds, could be a ghost, could be a prisoner who thinks they're alive. Hard to tell. You keep your ear pressed to the wall anyway, because even if it's a hallucination, it's better than the silence. Another whisper. Still digging. Your pulse spikes. Digging? You whisper back, not expecting an answer. Almost there, the voice says. Don't make noise, they'll hear. You pull back, blinking. Your cellmates stare. Someone's trying to get out, you say. The scribe shrugs. Someone's always trying. But they're close. The witch sighs. Close just means they die nearer to us. Still, your heart races. Just the idea of escape, of another person fighting the same fight, trying to claw their way through stone and madness. It's intoxicating, even if it's just a ghost. Historical side note. Some dungeon prisoners did attempt escapes, through tunnels, bribed guards, even fake deaths. Most failed. Some were caught mid-dig and sealed inside the walls they tried to flee through. Literally bricked in. A warning to the rest. Fringe fact. One 14th century prison reportedly had a parking wall where inmates believed they could speak to spirits. It was likely just bad acoustics, but they swore the voices gave advice, warnings, even comfort. Probably madness. Or maybe just the last thing the mind clings to when hope has nowhere left to go. You return to your corner. The whisper is gone now. Maybe it was never there, but something inside you has shifted, just slightly. You close your eyes and whisper to yourself, almost there. Something changes in the air. Not dramatically, just a ripple, like someone exhaled after holding their breath for too long. You feel it in your ribs first, then your chest. Then in that instinctual place deep inside your gut where your survival reflex lives. The hallway outside is quiet again, too quiet, and you can feel the anticipation crawling up your spine like a wet centipede. Then comes the whisper, not the secret in the wall kind. This one's real, close. The witch leans toward you. You need to know how this works, she says, her voice low, like she's trying not to disturb the shadows, because your time's coming. You blink at her. Time for what? The question, she says. They always come with one, just one, and they ask it like it's nothing, simple, like who helped you or do you deny it? But it's never simple. It's a trick. No matter what you say, it's the wrong answer. She looks away. Eyes foggy. I told them no, that I hadn't done anything. They took my tongue out and said now I couldn't lie. Your stomach tightens. She has a tongue. You've heard her speak plenty. But maybe she's talking about someone else. Or maybe her tongue's still in her mouth but doesn't really belong to her anymore. The coughing man chuckles from his corner. I said yes, thought it would end faster, but that just made them curious. You swallow hard. What's the right answer, you ask? The scribe taps his wall rhythmically, then mutters, there isn't one. They're not looking for truth. They're looking for music. Music? The witch smiles a little. The kind made from screams. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to block the walls, the chains, the smell, the sounds. You picture grass, sun, a bowl of stew, anything that isn't this place. But the image wavers like a heat mirage, and the dungeon returns fast and heavy. Why are you all here? You ask, the question slipping out like breath. The witch shrugs. Witchcraft! You wait for more, but that's all she offers. The coughing man raises a trembling hand. Stole a loaf of bread from a noble's cart, was starving. They wanted a lesson. And you? You ask the scribe. He stops tapping, lifts his head, eyes blinking slowly. Words. Wrote the wrong ones. That's it? I called a bishop's dog dull-eyed. It was in a poem. His lips twitch like it might have once been funny. Apparently the bishop liked the dog. You let out a thin, humourless laugh. It feels dry and cracked coming out of your throat. Then the witch points at you. So? What's your sin? You hesitate. I don't know, you admit. I think I was just in the wrong room. Ah, the coughing man says. Classic mistake. Could have been a mix-up, you mumble. They called me by someone else's name. I tried to explain, but you stop. The memory is slippery. Shouts, iron, a backhand. The world sending chains. Wrong name, wrong face, wrong story. Doesn't matter here, the witch says. You're guilty the second they open the door. You shift unmovably. The stone beneath you feels harder now, colder. You glance toward the far wall, where that whisper came earlier. You lean in, press your ear against the stone again. Nothing, only your own heartbeat, thudding inside your head like it's trying to escape before you do. Then a sound, something different. It starts in the distance, low, steady, a rhythmic metal-on-metal clink. Clink, clink, clink. Chains, someone is being walked. You sit up straighter, and your cellmates freeze. Listen, the witch says. The hallway lights up faintly with torchlight. A parade is coming, but not a celebratory one. More like a funeral procession that hasn't yet decided who's dying. 2 guards come first, armed and grim, then the figure in chains, a young woman, barefoot, shivering, skin bruised from ankle to jaw. She stumbles once. And one of the guards yanks her chain forward without mercy. Behind her walks another cloaked figure. Not the torturer, not the surgeon. This one wears no leather, no weapon, just a plain dark robe. His face is shadowed, and he walks with the easy patience of someone who's seen it all before. The priest. The witch stiffens. He's early. He usually comes after, the coughing man says. Maybe he's running low on mercy, the scribe mumbles. The procession stops outside a cell 2 doors down from yours. The girl is dragged in, sobbing, begging, her words muffled by distance. The priest doesn't speak, he just waits. Then for a moment you hear something awful. The girl says your name, not exact, but close enough. Your blood goes cold, you rise, press against the bars, trying to listen. But the door slams shut, muffling the rest. They think she's you, you whisper. No, the witch says quietly. They think she knows you, or that you're connected. What does that mean? It means you'll go in after her, the coughing man says, voice raspy, to confirm her confession, or contradict it. And then... They all go quiet. The silence answers everything. A historical truth. Medieval inquisitions thrived on networks of accusations. One person's confession almost always led to another arrest. And those arrests created more names, more blood, more screams. Some confessions weren't confessions at all, just desperate guesses under torture, pleading for the pain to stop. Whole families were destroyed by a single lie, or a name uttered in agony. Fringe fact, some dungeons employed scribes, not to record testimony, but to write fabricated ones that fit what the crown or church needed. Entire cases built on fiction. Clean, efficient, no survivors to argue. You sit back down, dizzy. Your skin is hot, your thoughts swimming. She said your name, or something close enough to tie you to her fate. You don't even know who she is, but she might have just sealed both of your ends. The witch watches you with something almost like pity. They always say a name, she says softly. Doesn't matter if it's real, it's yours now. You nod, numb, and from the other side of the wall, you hear it again. Tap, 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 pause, tap, 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 pause, still digging, still coming, but not fast enough. You're sitting so still now that even the rats don't bother avoiding you anymore. One scampers across your foot, its tiny claws scraping your skin like it's testing whether you're still alive. You don't flinch, can't flinch, not when your name just echoed down the hallway like a curse, pulled from the lips of a stranger who probably didn't even mean it. Maybe she thought it would save her, maybe someone fed her your name to pass the pain along like a hot coal. The coughing man is watching you. You're marked now, he says casually, like he's noting the weather. They'll come for you soon. They just need to warm up the hooks. You try to ignore him, but it's like trying to ignore fire when it's crawling up your legs. Maybe it won't be tonight, the witch says. Maybe they'll make you wait a few days. Let your fear marinate a little. You finally speak, your voice raw. I didn't do anything. The scribe lets out a short, ugly laugh. Neither did she. Or me. Or probably half the people buried under this place. You're confusing crime with reason. You close your eyes, not to escape this time, but to listen, to prepare. The hallway is quiet again, too quiet. Even the wind through the cracks in the ceiling stones has gone still. You can hear the faint wheezing of the girl 2 cells down, her sobs now broken into hiccuping gasps. She's trying to pray. The words come out tangled and wrong. You wonder if anyone's listening. Down here, prayers feel like bait more than hope. The footsteps return. You hear them long before they reach your cell. Slow, deliberate. Not the usual guards, this is the night shift, the torturer. You know him by the sound alone. His boots drag slightly, not because he's tired, but because he wants you to hear him coming. Each step is like a drumbeat in your stomach. And then, another sound. Fainter, metallic, something being dragged. Chains? No, a hook. You lean forward, peering through the bars. A faint torch glow rounds the corner, and then you see a Hamadoum, broad and thick-necked, his hood down tonight, revealing a face that somehow manages to look both smug and bored, like he's cleaning up after a party that got out of hand. The hook in his hand is long, blackened with rust, and things you don't want to identify. It scrapes across the stones as he walks, a sound more unbearable than any scream. He stops outside your cell. Your pulse slams into your throat. Your cellmates all lean back, eyes dropping to the floor. He looks at you, not like a man, more like a butcher choosing which cow to bleed first. Later, he says, voice like gravel, we'll talk. Then he keeps walking past your cell toward hers. You hear the girl scream before he even opens the door. Not words, just raw panic. He hasn't touched her yet, but she knows. The scribe starts tapping again, louder this time, like he's trying to drown out what comes next. The witch murmurs, don't listen. But you do. The door creaks open and her screams become clearer. You can hear her being dragged, her nails scraping against the floor. She's yelling things now, names, places, numbers, all in a rush. It sounds like she's giving them everything she has just to avoid what's coming. It doesn't work. Then you hear it. The hook. That sharp metallic click as it connects with something. Then the scream that follows is pure and high, like glass breaking in slow motion. It vibrates through your bones. You press your hands to your ears. It doesn't help. It never helps. And then something worse, a pause, a silence, broken only by her ragged, open-mouthed breathing. You don't want to know what's happening in that pause, but your imagination kindly fills in the blanks. He says something, a question maybe. You can't make it out. She screams again, and this time it's low and wet, like something inside her gave way. They'll bring her back, the witch says. What's left, the coughing man adds. She said my name, you whisper. Then maybe you'll get to be her encore. You sit still, trying not to shake. Your arms are wrapped around your knees now, your head buried in the crook of your elbow. You feel like a child hiding from the monster under the bed. Except now the monster's real, and he's outside the cell next door, and he's singing. You freeze. A soft tune, Off-key, a lullaby, a hymn. He's humming as he works, the sound of blades and fire and a man's humming voice. It's the most terrifying thing you've ever heard. The scribe taps faster. The witch closes her eyes. The coughing man begins to cry, not loudly, just a dry, wheezing sob like a death rattle with feelings. And then the humming stops. The dragging begins. She's not screaming anymore. You don't know what's worse. The hallway is filled with scraping now, her body being hauled. One of her shoes comes off and skids across the stones. It stops near your cell. You stare at it. A small leather thing soaked in blood at the toe. She must have kicked, fought. It didn't matter. He stops again, looks through your bars, he smiles. "I like your face," he says. "You scream pretty already." Then he walks on, you slump against the wall. Everything aches. Even the air feels sharp now, like you're breathing knives. The cell tilts a little. You don't know if it's the fever or just reality losing patience with you. A historical note. Torture in the medieval era wasn't just about confession. It was entertainment, intimidation, social control. Executioners had reputations. Some were beloved, others feared. The singing torturer was real. An infamous man in 15th century France known to hum softly during sessions. Survivors described it as worse than the pain. Fringe fact, in one dungeon they found a metal hook etched with music notes. Someone had taken the time to engrave a lullaby into it. A dark signature, maybe, or just a twisted joke. Back in your cell, the quiet settles again like dust. The witch speaks last tonight. When he sings, she says, someone always dies. And you realise you're still holding your breath. You don't know how long you've been sitting in the dark, knees tucked to your chest like a broken doll, but your legs have gone numb, and your ears still ring from that scream. The kind that burns itself into the walls. The girl never came back. That's what settles hardest into your stomach. Not the blood, not the hook, not even the singing. Just the empty face that used to hold a person. The witch hasn't moved since her last words. She's facing the wall, whispering again. You catch pieces, names maybe. Or spells, or curses. You're not sure anymore what's real and what's just leaking out of her fractured mind. The scribe is quiet too. No tapping now. Just a slow, shallow breath like he's trying to sleep standing up. And the coughing man? He hasn't coughed in a while. You look over. He's slumped against the wall, mouth open, eyes half-lidded. His chest doesn't move. You crawl toward him inch by inch until you're close enough to touch his hand. It's cold, still. You press your fingers to his neck, not because you think he'll wake up, but because you need to confirm what your gut already knows. Dead. It doesn't feel dramatic. There's no final gasp, no whispered last words, no legacy passed down in cryptic riddles. Just silence. He died, like everything else down here. Quiet and ignored. Probably during the torture next door. You try to remember the last thing he said. Something about bread, about being a lesson. Doesn't matter now. You lean back against the wall and stare at him. The witch finally turns her head. He's gone, isn't he? You nod slowly. Lucky bastard. You glance at the scribe. He hasn't reacted at all. You're starting to wonder if he's gone too, just still breathing out of habit. You sit in silence. You don't even have the energy to mourn. Grief is a luxury you can't afford in here. You just move a little to make room, careful not to disturb the body. He deserves that much. Then from down the hall, the unmistakable grind of a heavy door. You freeze. Bootsteps, heavy, familiar, but this time they're for you. The steps stop at your cell. The guard's face appears in the torchlight, older, grizzled, the one who kicked you on your first night. He looks you over like he's checking the ripeness of fruit. Up, he growls. Your body doesn't move. It's not refusal, just pure exhaustion. But he takes it as defiance. The door swings open and he steps in, grabbing you by the collar. You gasp as he yanks you upright. Your legs collapse beneath you, weak from hunger and days of sitting in filth. He doesn't care. He drags you anyway. As he pulls you out, your shoulder brushes the coughing man's body. A final goodbye, whether you want it or not. The witch doesn't speak. She just watches with eyes that say what words can't. The hallway is longer than you remember. Or maybe your feet just weigh more now. The chains on your wrists jingle like tiny bells announcing your doom. You pass other cells, dark ones, silent ones. A few with whispering eyes peeking through bars. No one offers help. No one ever does. They take you into the chamber. Not the chamber, not yet. This one's a waiting room of sorts. A narrow stone cell with a bench and a sloped floor that lets blood drain easily. The smell here is worse than the dungeon. Copper and vomit and something burned. You're left alone. The torch flickers. Shadows dance on the walls like they're reenacting all the horrible things that happened here. You sit on the bench and try not to think. Then the door opens again. And this time they bring the rack. It's not fancy, just a wooden frame with ropes at both ends and a crank. You've heard about it. You've dreamed about it. Now it's here and you're the star of the show. They don't say anything. No dramatic threats. No monologue. Just action. They strap your wrists, your ankles. The ropes dig into your skin like they're eager to start. Then the torturer appears, same man as before, singing again, that same off-key subtle tune that curls inside your ear and settles like a worm. He smiles. "Tell me what she said," he says. You blink. Who sent her? What did she give you? You don't know who he means, the girl, the witch, the woman who screamed your name? I don't know her, you stammer. He sighs, disappointed. Wrong answer. Then he turns the crank. The first pull is gentle, a stretch, like waking up from sleep. But it keeps going. Your joints pop, your muscles scream, your wrists feel like they're tearing from the sockets. You scream, of course you scream. He nods, pleased. There it is, he says. Music. Another crank. Your shoulders strain. The burn shoots through your spine like fire. Your hips lift off the rack for a moment, then slam back down. You hear something snap. You're not sure what, maybe a finger, maybe your sanity. He asks again. Who did she name? I don't... You choke on your own breath. I don't know. Another crank. You don't scream this time. You howl. Like an animal caught in a trap. The pain isn't pain anymore. It's just everything. A tidal wave crashing through your nervous system, drowning you. He leans in close. You're going to remember, he whispers, even if I have to stretch it out of you. One more crank. You pass out. When you wake up, you're on the floor. The rack looms beside you like a proud monument. The torch is lower. The torturer is gone. Your body is wrong. One of your arms won't move. Your shoulder pulses with fire. You taste blood, maybe your tongue, maybe your lip. You crawl to the door, dragging your dead arm behind you. No one stops you. No one speaks. Eventually, the cell door opens. You're dragged back down the hallway, half conscious, half collapsed. Your legs don't really work. The world is smeared around the edges. They toss you into your cell. The witch catches your head before it hits the floor. The scribe shuffles over and stares at your arm, now bent at a crooked, unnatural angle. The witch whispers, "First time's the worst." You try to answer. Your jaw doesn't work. The torchlight fades. The rats return, and somewhere down the hall the torturer hums another verse. Your body has become a cage. Not the cell around you, the flesh, the bones, the sinew stretched too far. You lie there on your side, unable to move. Barely able to think, and every breath is a gamble. One shallow inhale sends hot daggers across your ribs, and the exhale feels like letting go of a scream you don't have the strength to make. Your right arm doesn't work at all. It's just there, useless. The shoulder is likely dislocated or shattered. You wouldn't be surprised if it was hanging by the grace of skin alone. There's a sick kind of silence in the cell. The witch hasn't spoken. The scribe hasn't tapped. Even the rats seem to be watching, waiting. Maybe they smell the weakness on you now. Maybe they're giving you a little space before the feast. That would be generous, wouldn't it? You try to sit up. Every part of your body protests, but slowly you inch upward. The scribe moves beside you, offering a hand. It trembles. You accept it. His skin's rough and cold. He helps pull you up against the wall where you slump like a ruined marionette. You'd say thank you if your jaw didn't feel like it had been used to test a hammer. The witch finally turns to look at you. Her eyes are sharp, alert, cutting. You held out, she says softly. They didn't get what they wanted. You blink, barely. That's good, she adds, even if it doesn't mean anything. The scribe nods. Most people break on the first pull. The rack doesn't mess around. You manage to croak out something, not a word, just a noise. The witch understands anyway. They'll come again, she says. They always do. If you survive the first, you become more interesting. You're too tired to be afraid. It's like your nerves tapped out hours ago and left you with this strange floating numbness, a kind of peace even. If pain is fire, then you've burned down to ash. You'll want to pop that shoulder back in, the witch says casually, or it'll rot. You glance down at your arm. It's purpling now, the swelling is grotesque. Your hand twitches involuntarily every few seconds like it's being puppeted by a sadistic child. How? You rasp, barely audible. Need someone strong, she replies. She glances at the scribe, he pales. I'm not strong. You're all we've got. You look from one to the other. The scribe is already shaking his head. You'll black out, the witch says. Just don't bite off your tongue. You nod. The scribe positions himself beside you, hands uncertain. He tries to remember something, anything that resembles medical knowledge. Eventually he places his foot beside your ribs, grabs your wrist, and takes a deep breath. On 3, he says. 1, then he yanks. Sound erupts from your shoulder. Not a pop, but a thud, like a knotted rope snapping back into a half-right place. You scream, or maybe just whimper. It's hard to tell. Then you black out. When you come to, you're back against the wall. The scribe's sitting across from you, tapping again, softly now like the cell itself is too tired for noise. The witch has laid your ruined arm across your lap and stuffed straw beneath it like a makeshift pillow. Still useless, but the pain is different now. Deeper, less sharp, like the worst part has passed and left this dull, grinding misery in its place. You catch your breath, it whistles through your teeth. Every inhale tastes like blood. You'll live, the witch says. You nod weakly. Shame. She smirks, just barely. Then the whispering starts again. Not hers, the wall, that same tapping. This time it's more frantic, urgent. You press your good ear to the stone. The rhythm is strange now, not the old beat. This one's different. Knock, knock, knock. Pause, knock. Then a voice, barely audible, like breath through a crack. Almost through. Hold on. You blink hard, trying to stay conscious. The witch notices. It's the voice again, isn't it? You nod. What's it saying? Digging, you whisper. Still digging. Almost through. She closes her eyes. Fool's hope, she says. But her voice isn't mocking anymore. You sit back and close your eyes too, just for a second. The cell spins, but it's slow and sleepy, like a carousel in a storm. Then the guard arrives. A different one this time. Young, new. He looks almost clean. He peers in through the bars. Still breathing, he mutters. Then he slides something through the door. Food, if you can call it that. A grey lump of what might be meat and a hunk of hard bread. No water. Your stomach growls. Surprised it remembers what hunger is, you lean forward and scoop the bread, your broken arm throbbing with every motion. The meat tastes like cold ash. The witch doesn't eat. She just watches the door. Waiting. Tomorrow, she says. You glance at her. What? They'll take you again. How do you know? Because they didn't finish. She's right. They never finish. They just pause. You look at the wall again. You want to believe the voice behind it. That someone is digging, that someone is coming, that freedom is more than a bedtime story for the inmates who've lost their teeth. But then the scribe speaks. They say the man in the wall. He died years ago, dug so deep he forgot he wasn't alive. You meet his eyes. He thinks he's escaping, but he's really just circling. The witch nods, like a rat in a wheel. You swallow. Maybe they're right, but still, you hope. Historical note. The rack was one of the most feared instruments in medieval torture chambers. Its genius was its simplicity, stretching the human body until it dislocated, tore, and sometimes ripped completely apart. Victims often fainted from the initial tension, but were revived for more. Inquisitors called it the clarifier. Fringe fact, some torturers would ask victims to sing while on the rack. If they could still carry a tune, the torturer would turn the crank again, saying they must not be in enough pain yet. Back in the cell, you can't sing, you can barely speak, but you're still breathing. And that's something, isn't it? Sleep doesn't visit you that night, not even the strange twitching half-sleep you've learned to settle for in this hole. You just sit there with your broken arm cradled in your lap, eyes fixed on the shadowy corner where the coughing man used to be. It's empty now. The straw still holds the shape of his body, and his scent lingers in the air, sour, earthy, sick. His absence is louder than his presence ever was. The scribe is murmuring to himself again, carving invisible letters on the wall with a finger that's more bone than flesh. The witch is curled in her corner, eyes open, mouth moving in silent rhythm. She's not praying. You don't think she's ever prayed. Whatever she's saying is just for her and maybe the walls. Your arm pulses with every beat of your heart. The shoulder's half back in place, but something's torn. You can feel the way the pain throbs through your ribs and into your spine like it's travelling through a broken pipeline. You want to scream or cry or pass out again, but there's no energy left. You're hollow, scraped clung, and then a sound. Not footsteps, not the hook, something smaller. Voice from the cell next to yours. "Hey," it says. You blink. You haven't heard a new voice in days. Weeks, the days blur together like wet paint. "Hey," the voice says again. It's hoarse, male, young. Are you alive?" You shuffle closer to the bars and lean your head toward the wall. Your shoulder screams in protest. "Barely," you rasp. He exhales in relief. "Good. I thought I was the only one left." "Who are you?" you ask. "Name's Edric," he says. "Used to be a scribe, same as that one." You glance at your own scribe, who doesn't even flinch. Or what did they get you for?" Edric chuckles dryly. "A joke. Wrote a letter mocking a noble's nose, didn't realise I was copying it into a royal ledger." You huff something that might be laughter. "What about you?" he asks. "Wrong place, wrong name. That'll do it." You lean your head against the stone, grateful for the distraction, for the sound of a voice that doesn't want to hurt you. "They've taken me twice already," he says. "The wheel, then the boot, not sure what's next." Your stomach turns at the mention of the boot, a device meant to crush the feet and shins until bone shattered like glass. You have only heard about it in whispers. Now it's sitting 2 feet away in someone's memory. "I think I'm next. Again," he says. You both go quiet. There's nothing else to say. After a while, the witch shifts and speaks, her voice cutting through the stillness. "You've met the noble?" You look over. "What noble?" She nods toward the far end of the cell block. "The one in the pit." You frown. "I thought he was just a story." "No," she says. "He's real. Or was." The scribe finally speaks. "He was dropped in 3 days before I arrived, still wore his family crest. Claimed he had an army waiting outside." "Did he?" The witch smirks. "If he did, they lost interest." They fall silent again, but something stirs in your gut. That strange hunger for meaning, for direction. "Where's the pit?" The scribe lifts a hand and points lazily down the hall. "Last cell, far left. You'll hear him before you see him." You rest your head back, wondering if it's worth trying to crawl that far. Not tonight. Not in this shape. But someday. Soon. A while later, again years. No idea how long, the guards return. You know them by the rhythm of their steps now. It's not the torturer this time. It's the cart crew. They wheel a rickety wooden cart down the hall, its squeaky wheels shrieking against the silence. They stop at your cell and look inside. One of them points at the body in the corner, the coughing man. "He's ripe," he says. They come in with hooks, grab the body by the wrists, and drag it out like a sack of flour. His head knocks against the stone twice. No one flinches. As they wheel him away, you catch a glimpse through the open door. Down the hall, past the curve, where the shadows deepen into a pitch-black pit. A voice echoes from that darkness. "I want water," it says. The cart crew doesn't even blink. One of them laughs. You look at the witch. "The noble," she confirms. "What's wrong with him?" He still thinks someone's coming. You watch the cart disappear. Then the rats return right on schedule. They're bolder now, crawling freely, darting under the straw, sniffing along the walls. You keep your back against the stone, good arm raised in defence. The witch tosses a small chunk of bread into the corner, distracting them. The scribe keeps writing on the wall with his invisible ink. You decide to ask, "What are you writing?" He doesn't look at you. "Maps," he says. "To where?" He smiles faintly. "Out." The witch scoffs. He's making it up. He shrugs. A man can dream. Historical note. Nobles were occasionally imprisoned, but rarely tortured in the same ways as peasants or criminals, unless they had something someone wanted: land, secrets, influence. One account describes a duke kept in a cell beneath a privy chute for 6 months. When rescued, he no longer recognised his own name. Fringe fact, some believed nobles could be broken by isolation alone. No need for iron, just time. Time and the knowledge that no one cared enough to come. You close your eyes, head spinning. The food sits heavy in your stomach, and your arm pulses with pain. But for a moment, you let it go. Let the cell fade. Let the voices bleed together like background music. You dream, maybe. Or hallucinate. A bright sky, green fields, your daughter's face, then her voice fades into that same rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Pause, still digging, still coming. The next time you wake, there's something different in the air. Not the kind of difference you hope for. Not freedom, not daylight, not even silence. No, this is worse. A thick, sickly sweet scent crawling over everything, coating your tongue, filling your nostrils until you taste rot with every breath. The witch is already sitting up, eyes half-lidded, nose wrinkled. "They're bringing the leeches," she mutters, like she's seen it before and hated it every time. Leeches. You blink slowly, struggling to make sense of the word. It doesn't fit with the stench, or the heavy footsteps approaching. But then you hear it. Sloshing. Wet. Thick sloshing, like soup full of limbs. Followed by the creaking of wood wheels. And then, yes, the smell. You turn your head toward the bars just in time to see them wheel it past. A wooden tub, old and splintering, stained dark with years of something awful. Inside, a grey soup of water and blood slithering with fat, writhing creatures. Leeches, dozens, maybe hundreds. Some long as your hand, some bloated with crimson. The tub is dragged by 2 guards, one of them gagging as he pulls. They park it just outside the cell across from yours. You hear a moan, then a shout. "No, no more, please!" A scream follows. Then the sickening slap of wet cloth and skin. The guards mutter to each other. And then, splash. The sound of something dropping into the tub. Or someone. Leeches weren't always for torture, at least not officially. In medieval medicine, they were a cure, bloodletting, to balance the humours, to drain the sickness, but down here you don't get cured, you just get drained. They say it calms the fever, the witch says, also takes the will. The scribe finally looks up. They fed the priest a bucket once. He spent 2 days in a trance smiling at the ceiling. You glance at him. Why? He shrugs. He asks too many questions. You shift your weight, trying to ease the ache in your arm. It's swollen now, dark and throbbing. You think it's infected. If you die, it won't be the rack or starvation. It'll be something as stupid as bacteria crawling through your blood. Maybe the leeches would help. Maybe. They don't bring them unless someone's about to break, the witch adds. Or they already have. Another scream echoes from the cell across the hall, followed by coughing, retching, and a sound that might be sobbing or just breathing through pain. The guards leave the tub there, parked like a cursed centrepiece. Leeches still wriggling, the water clouding with whatever they've been feeding on. You can't stop looking at it. The movement. The glisten of wet skin. One of them stretches upward, sensing the air, then falls back into the mass. You ever had them? You ask. The witch nods slowly. Twice. What's it like? She shudders. They don't just take blood. They take warmth. You feel them moving, clinging, biting. And when they're full, they fall off and leave you cold, she pauses. The cold doesn't go away. The scribe begins to write again, not onto the wall, just in the air. His finger dances in invisible letters as he whispers something under his breath. You catch fragments. Drain the soul before the body. You rub your eyes. Your skin feels oily, slick with the sweat and grime. You haven't seen yourself in weeks, but you can imagine what you look like. Eyes sunken, cheeks hollow, mouth cracked and bleeding. And then the priest arrives. No torch this time. Just his slow, dragging steps. Cloaked in black, hood pulled low. You recognize him by the way everyone else goes still. The witch bows her head. The scribe stops moving entirely. He stops at the cell across the hall and stares inside. A voice, faint, trembling, whispers, "Please, Father." The priest speaks. His voice is soft, measured, like honey poured onto a blade. "You have confessed?" A weak, "Yes." "Do you repent?" Silence. Then a scream, high and raw. You hear water slosh. The tub tips slightly. The priest doesn't move. Eventually, he speaks again. Then the body is cleansed. He turns, walks away. The guards follow, dragging the tub behind them, the leeches still dancing inside. You hear them slapping against the sides, bloated now. The smell lingers long after they're gone. You press your forehead to the wall, not for comfort, just to feel something that isn't pain. Then it happens again, the whisper in the wall. Closer, so close. You blink. Hello? The voice returns. Almost through. I can hear you breathing. You whisper back. Where are you? Behind, digging. Don't speak loud, they'll hear. Your heart pounds. You press your palm to the stone. It's warm here. Warmer than the rest of the wall. You wonder, could it be true? The witch watches you. You hear him again? You nod. She closes her eyes. I used to believe him too. Why did you stop? Because it hurts too much when he stops, the scribe speaks. He'll keep going forever, round and round, until he breaks through into nothing. You lean back and stare at the ceiling. There are more carvings up there than you ever noticed. People must have scratched their thoughts upward, toward the heavens, maybe thinking that if they looked up long enough, someone would look down. You read one out loud. Deliver me from the blood drinkers. That's a leech prayer, the witch says. Pretty popular. You chuckle, and it comes out broken and wet. The rats return, climbing over the straw. You don't swat them away. One crawls over your ankle and pauses, sniffing. You stare at it. It stares back. There's a strange moment, like it's weighing your worth. Then it scampers off. You reach for a crumb of bread left near your boot. You eat it slowly, chewing as if it's made of gold. Historical note. Medicinal leeches were widely used in medieval times, believed to cure everything from headaches to melancholy. But in dungeons, the line between healing and punishment was blurred. Leeches were dumped onto prisoners' open wounds, often without consent. Some were sewn into cloth wraps and tied to the body overnight. Fringe fact, in one French prison, they reportedly bred a royal strain of leeches, larger, faster, more aggressive, used only for special guests. Their bite left permanent scars, a badge of survival or shame. You finish the crumb and lie back. From across the wall the voice returns. Tomorrow, it whispers. Tomorrow I break through. You don't answer this time. You want to believe him, but you've heard too many promises. It starts with heat, not warmth. Heat. Oppressive, sticky, crawling heat that wraps around you like a wool blanket soaked in fever. You wake in it, soaked in your own sweat, your hair stuck to your forehead, your tunic glued to your back. The cell is suffocating. The walls, always cold, now radiate warmth like a furnace. The rats are gone. Even they've retreated to cooler cracks. The witch is sitting upright, fanning herself with a scrap of cloth. Her lips are cracked open, and her tongue sticks slightly to the roof of her mouth when she speaks. It's starting. What is? You croak, throat dry, tongue like leather. She nods towards you. The fever. You blink hard, vision fuzzy. You try to sit up and the room tilts violently, like someone's taken your cell and dropped it into the ocean. You sway, your shoulder throb turning molten. The scribe is already humming to himself. Rocking again, this time in fast, nervous jolts. His eyes roll upward. The witch notices. He's had it 3 times. I've had it twice, she says, deadpan. You'll sweat first, then shake, then scream, then maybe bite your own lip off, but don't worry, you might live. The words make sense but feel distant, like she's speaking through a fog. You lie back down, the stone suddenly too hot beneath you. You roll to your side and the ceiling shifts again. Now it's rippling like water. You close your eyes and the cell moves with you. Voices start whispering behind your eyelids. Soft ones. Familiar. Your wife, your daughter. You see them for a moment, vivid and clear. They're standing in the sun. Your daughter's holding a cloth doll, grinning. Your wife's hair is braided, shining in the light. They wave at you. You try to stand, try to speak, but your body won't move and your voice is gone. They don't see you. They just keep waving, and then they begin to melt, like wax figures under the midday sun. Faces slipping, eyes running down cheeks, arms puddling at their feet. You scream, but only in your head. You blink and the vision's gone. The cell is back, but it's changed. It's breathing. The stones pulse in and out, slow and steady like lungs. The chains clink on their own without anyone touching them. You stare at your own hands, and they begin to curl without your permission. The fever has taken hold. You try to focus, anchor yourself. Something real, something solid. You look at the scribe. He's smiling now, big and wild, his teeth are red. "They're here," he whispers. "They came through the wall. I let them in." You stare. His fingers are digging into the stone again, scratching until the nails bend and crack. There's blood under every tip. "Stop," you whisper. He doesn't. The witch suddenly stands and crosses the cell in 2 quick steps. She slaps him hard. The crack echoes like a whip crack. The scribe blinks, focuses, stares at her like he's just landed in the wrong room. "You're fine," she says. "You're fine. It's just the heat." "I saw them," he mutters. "They crawled out of the wall like spiders. They're not real." He doesn't answer, just slides down the wall and curls up like a child. You curl too, not for comfort. For protection. From the heat, from the visions, from the scream bubbling at the back of your throat. The whisper from the wall returns. Almost there, but this time you scream at it. "Stop lying!" The witch grabs your arm. Hey, focus!" Her eyes are clear, her hand is firm. "You're in a cell, you're sick, you'll get through it." "I saw them," you mumble. "My family, they—" "I know," she says softly. You blink. "You too?" She nods. "I see my mother. Every time. She's always baking something. Bread, usually. I can smell it." You do now too. You can smell baking bread, crisp and golden. It fills the cell like a hallucination you want to drown in. "Don't follow it," she warns. But it's too late. The cell fades again. The heat folds inward, wraps around you, and this time you're not in a dungeon. You're in a meadow. Bright green, wind blowing through tall grass, a tree in the distance, and a blanket. Your daughter's laughter echoing in the breeze. You walk toward her. She's running barefoot. You want to scoop her up. You reach out, and then you fall back into the cell, hard. You hit the stone with a grunt and feel your elbow split open. Blood trails down your arm. The witch is beside you where you're in your hen, wiping your face with the cloth she was using earlier. "You went under," she says. "For a while." "How long?" she shrugs. "A few hours." You were mumbling. "I saw her." "I know." The scribe groans from the corner. His mouth is covered in blood now. He bit his tongue, hard. You glance at your own hands. One of your fingernails is gone. The witch presses a cool cloth against your forehead. "Water?" you ask. "Huh?" She glances toward the door. "None yet." The guards haven't passed in a while. That's never a good sign. Then the worst noise you can imagine. The slow drag of metal on stone. Not the hook. The bucket. It sloshes before you see it. The fever bucket. They slide it into the cell and leave it. It's filled with grey water. Cloudy. Room temperature. You know better than to ask what else is in it. You crawl to it and drink anyway. You're past shame. It tastes like metal and mildew, but it's wet, and you need it. The witch drinks next, then the scribe. The bucket's half empty in minutes. Then silence again. The witch speaks last, voice low and steady. "If you make it through the first fever, you'll make it through the second. How many are there? 3, maybe 4? Then what?" She smiles sadly. "Then your body forgets how to be warm." Historical truth. Fevers were often fatal in medieval dungeons, not because of the illness itself, but because of the conditions. No clean water, no rest, no medicine. Just time and heat and hope rotting together in a sealed tomb. Fringe fact? Some prisoners, when deep in fever, reportedly spoke in tongues, named future events, even saw the deaths of others before they happened. It earned them nicknames: oracles, prophets, plague seers. Most of them died anyway. But a few lived long enough to watch their visions come true. You lie back again, the fever loosening its grip for now, but in your head you still hear the tapping and the whisper. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. The fever breaks sometime during the second or third hallucination of your daughter skipping rope with a noose. You jolt awake, or maybe just shift phases of consciousness, and find yourself slick with sweat, limbs shaking, the air around you cooled just enough to feel the heat retreating in slow, grudging steps. You're breathing again, real breaths now, not the shallow, panic-laced gasps that came when the walls were breathing with you. You feel wrecked, wrung out like a rag left too long in someone else's misery. But you're here. You survived. The witch leans over, inspecting you like a dying plant that might still flower. "You've come back," she says, almost surprised. You nod, or try to. Your neck aches. Everything aches. She hands you the cloth again, what passes for hygiene in this place. It's damp and smells faintly of rot and mildew, but the coolness soothes your forehead, and for one precious moment, it feels like care. You use it to wipe your mouth, which is caked in dried saliva and blood. Your lips crack as you move them. Across the cell, the scribe is lying on his back, eyes open, but staring into some far-off universe. He's not rocking anymore, just humming something under his breath, slow and soft, as if comforting himself, or whatever invisible thing he thinks is in the corner. You turn your head, carefully, because your shoulder still pulses like a live wire, and glance toward the hallway. Nothing. The torches have burned lower than usual. The usual guard shuffle, the routine clink of chains, even the rats, all strangely absent. The witch notices it too. They're late. For what? Judgment Day. Your stomach clenches. What? She doesn't repeat herself, just points toward the hallway with her chin. Listen. You strain your ears. At first, nothing. Then, murmurs, voices. 2 or 3 people, maybe more, talking in hushed tones. Not guards. These aren't curses or board commands. These are conversations. Careful, rehearsed. Like men who want to sound calm but are not. Then the sound of a door creaking open. Not yours. Farther down. Chains rattle. Boots scrape and something heavy being dragged. You shift closer to the bars and try to see down the corridor. You catch the flicker of a torchlight, and then shadows on the wall. Figures. One tall, robed, another with the clipboard, if you can believe that. Quill in hand, recording something. The witch is watching them too. Tallying up the list, she mutters. What list? She turns toward you, eyes hollow. Executions. The word lands like a stone in your gut. How do they decide? She shrugs. Whoever costs too much, too noisy, too broken, or too forgotten? A guard passes your cell, one you don't recognize. He glances at you, then at the scribe, then at the corner where the coughing man used to sit. He frowns. One short in here? The witch nods. He died 2 nights ago. The guard jots something down. What happens now, you ask? They choose, she replies. From down the hall, someone starts screaming, not in pain, in protest. No, no, you said I had more time, please, please. The screams continue, muffled by the stone, then abruptly cut off by the unmistakable thunk of a club. Silence. They take them out in small groups, the witch says. Sometimes for public executions, other times they just vanish. The scribe murmurs, the oubliette, or the spike. You've heard of the oubliette. A hole in the ground, no ladder, no light. Just dropped in and forgotten, like trash. The witch touches your hand. If they call your name, don't walk. Make them drag you. Take that from them. It's the only power you've got left. You nod slowly. Every part of your body aches, but the thought of being chosen, of being led out into the unknown, never to return, is somehow worse than everything you've endured so far. The voices draw closer again. Now you can see the roster holder. He's younger than expected. Hair neatly combed, expression blank, like he's reading off a guest list for a banquet. Behind him, 2 guards stand with manacles, their eyes scanning each cell with tired disinterest. Cell 7, the man says. They unlock a door across the hall. A man stumbles out, sobbing. Please. I have information. I know things. I can help. They ignore him. Bind his hands. One of the guards slams the butt of his spear against the prisoner's knee when he resists. The pop makes your stomach flip. Next, the roster holder says, flipping a page. You duck back into the shadows. Every instinct screams at you to shrink, disappear, become less. They stop at your cell. The man looks through the bars. His eyes linger on you, then drift to the witch, then to the scribe. He reads out, Cell 9, Noble Extraction. Subject, Torin Varel. Your breath halts. The witch nods. The man in the pit. They move on. You exhale slowly, light-headed, not this time. A moment later you hear the dragging. Stones scraping. A scream, deep, hoarse. More animal than man. They've pulled him out. You think he really was a noble? You ask. The witch nods. He came in with a ring. Took it on day 1. You remember hearing him. The voice always begging for water. Always talking to someone who wasn't there. Where do they take them? She shrugs. Depends. Maybe the pyre, maybe the pit, maybe just a wall. You're silent for a long moment. Then you ask something you haven't dared till now. Do they ever release anyone? The scribe laughs, then chokes, then laughs again. The witch doesn't answer right away. They do, she says finally. Your heart flutters, but only when the politics change, or when they want to make an example, or if someone outside has power. I don't, you whisper. Then no. Historical fact. Judgment Day in medieval prisons often had little to do with guilt or innocence. Executions were carried out in batches, usually for show, convenience, or political manoeuvring. Names were read by clerks who knew little and cared less. Prisoners were selected for execution simply because their cells were needed. Fringe fact, some dungeons used execution dice, a literal set of carved bones rolled by guards to determine who would die that week. If you rolled a 6, you were safe, at least until next time. The hallway quiets again. The last of the condemned are led away. The torchlight dims, the stone returns to silence, and through it all, that faint whisper from behind the wall. I'm here, almost through. You press your hand against the stone, so are you. When the priest finally visits your cell, he does it quietly. No booming footsteps, no clanging keys or rattle of chains, just a sudden shift in the air, and then he's there, standing behind the bars like a shadow that grew too solid. His robes hang perfectly, not a single crease out of place. His hood is low, but you can see just enough of his face to tell there's not much there. Not cruel, not kind, just empty. Wiped clean by years of listening to screams and pretending to forgive the things that caused them. You sit up slowly, your body screaming in protest, and press your back to the wall. The witch opens her eyes when he arrives but doesn't speak. The scribe doesn't react at all. You're not sure he even notices. He's been whispering to his wall again, asking it questions only he seems able to hear. The priest holds a small book in one hand, leather-bound. The corners stained from fingers that have turned many pages, and likely wiped more than one tear or bit of blood along the way. He flips it open to a marked page, clears his throat softly, and begins to speak. You have been given the opportunity for grace, he says. Before judgment, there is confession. Before confession, truth. And before truth, he stops, squints at the page, then glances up. Your name? You hesitate. He repeats it, flatly this time. Your name? You swallow hard. I told the guards when they took me. Tell me. You do. He frowns, flips to the next page. That name isn't here. You blink. What? He turns the book toward himself again, runs his finger down a list. You're not recorded. You were not assigned a confession date. I've been here for weeks, months maybe. No record, he says again. The witch leans forward slightly, intrigued. The priest flips another page. Closest match is a bricklayer. Died last week. I'm not a bricklayer. He looks up again. That's unfortunate. The silence stretches. Then he lifts a small iron crucifix from beneath his robes and begins reciting a prayer. His voice is calm, melodic in that priestly way. It should be soothing. It isn't. You're going to confess anyway, he says, mid-prayer, one way or another. I don't even know what I'm accused of, he pauses again. You're accused of existence within the wrong pattern. You blink. What does that mean? He closes the book slowly. It means someone wanted you gone, and no one stopped it. Your throat tightens. He turns to the witch. Have you confessed? She grins. 3 times, for 3 different crimes. Want a 4th? He doesn't rescind. Turns to the scribe. Do you repent? The scribe licks the stone wall. The priest exhales almost imperceptibly. Then he turns back to you. You will be brought forward again, he says. The torturer still has questions. Until then, speak your truth, even if no one hears it. That's the only thing you get in here. He pauses at the door. One more thing. You look up. Do you believe in God? Your mouth opens, then closes. The silence answers for you. Good, he says, and walks away. The door creaks shut behind him. No footsteps follow. Just the stillness settling in again like dust. The witch breaks it first. Was he confused, or are you really not in the book? I don't know. Could be good, she says, or bad, or both. You stare down at your hands, filthy, split-knuckled, shaking. What if I really don't exist in here, you whisper. Like, what if I was never processed? The witch leans back. Then you're a ghost with a pulse. The scribe begins humming again, tapping on the stone. You glance over. He used to be a court clerk, she adds. He saw things get buried on purpose. Buried? She nods. Names, evidence, bodies. You press your back harder against the wall, the cold stone grounding you. What if no one ever comes for me? They won't, she says flatly. If you're not in the book, you're not real. If you're not real, you can't be released. You let that sit with you. It hums in your chest like a second heartbeat. Later, maybe an hour, maybe two, a scream breaks the silence. Close this time. The scribe stops humming. The witch goes still. You crawl to the bars. A man is being dragged out of the far cell. You catch a glimpse, face bruised, lips bumped, lips split, shirt torn open at the collar. He's not screaming out of pain. Not yet. He's shouting names. They're innocent, the whole family, just farmers. It was a mistake. The guards ignore him. One of them snorts. Everyone says that, right up until the wheel. They disappear around the bend. The witch mutters, "Judgment's running late this week." You lie back down and close your eyes, trying not to think about what the wheel does. You've heard stories. Bones splintering like twigs, flesh twisted until it tears. The lucky ones die early. The rest become art. Historical fact. In some medieval dungeons, names were deliberately lost to deny families the chance of appeal or ransom. The unrecorded were considered expendable, ghosts of the system, forgotten in official records, yet painfully alive behind stone and iron. Fringe fact, some dungeons had a secret black book, list of prisoners who officially didn't exist. Their fates weren't logged. Their confessions weren't recorded. Their executions were never public. Just shadows fed to the darkness. You open your eyes, look at the wall and whisper, "Am I one of them?" From the other side the reply comes. Almost through. You press your hand to the warm stone again, and for the first time your hand comes away damp. You stare at it. Mud. You're not sure whether to laugh or scream. The mud is real. Thick, cold, and smelling of soil. Not the rancid rot that coats everything else down here. You stare at your hand like it's a miracle, like your palm just gave birth to the idea of freedom itself. It's dark brown, clinging under your nails, sliding between your fingers. It shouldn't be here. Not behind a wall sealed tight with iron and despair. Not in a place where time doesn't move forward but down. You touch the wall again. Damp. Not just with moisture but movement. A slow, subtle give, like the stone itself is losing patience. You press your ear to it. Nothing. Then tap, 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 tap. And a whisper. Breathy. Shaky. Soon. The witch notices your expression. She doesn't ask. Just tilts her head and says, "He's still at it, huh?" You nod. Still stunned. She looks away. "He said the same thing to me once, 5 years ago." You want to argue, say this is different, this is a mud. But your voice won't come, not because you can't speak, because you're afraid to say it out loud. That hope has weight, and in this place too much weight gets you crushed. Across the cell, the scribe suddenly moves. He rises, fully upright for the first time in days, weeks, you can't remember. He walks, slow and shaky, to the far wall and starts scraping it with both hands. "He's coming through," he whispers. "I saw it! He's bringing light!" "Light?" you ask. The scribe smiles, wild-eyed. "He's building stairs! Out! He'll break through any day now!" The witch exhales through her nose. "Here we go again!" "He spoke to me in Latin," the scribe says, voice rising. "Said I was chosen. The map leads to him." "What map?" you ask. He points to the carvings on the wall. The nonsense scratches, the spirals, the random symbols that could be madness or could be something else. "I marked the turns, the right stones, the pressure plates. It's all here." "Pressure plates?" The witch rolls her eyes. He thinks this dungeon was built like a labyrinth. Traps, secret doors, guardian beasts. The scribe doesn't look at her. You've never seen the low cell, she scoffs. Because it doesn't exist, he grins. That's what they want you to believe. You lean your head back and close your eyes. For a moment you think about what it would take. If someone were, against all odds, really digging, breaking through the centuries of stone-rotten bone, would you even recognise daylight when it touched your face? Or would it burn you alive? A sound breaks the thought. A scrape. No, not a rat. Something bigger. From the hallway. A guard's keys jangle. Slow steps. Familiar weight. The torturer's apprentice, not the master. No hook. No humming. Just the boy. The one you've only glimpsed from the shadows. A teenager. Barely more than a child with slick hair, bright eyes, and a grin that never quite fades. He stops at your cell. Peers in. Look who's still alive, he says cheerfully. You don't respond. He kneels, places his hands on the bars. His fingers are clean. Too clean. Guess what, he says. You blink at him. I get to choose someone today. Still you say nothing. I asked, he continues, and they said, why not, just one. My own little project. His grin spreads, and I pick you. Your stomach flips. He nods, delighted with himself. Not now, tomorrow. I want you fresh, not all fevered and half-cooked. We'll have fun. He rises and walks away, whistling a child's lullaby. You collapse back into the straw. The witch is staring at you, not with pity, but with quiet understanding. You don't scream for the master, she says, but for the apprentice. You beg. Why? She rubs her temple. He doesn't follow the rules. He's not trying to get a confession. He's just playing. Why? Let him. She shrugs, saves them effort. When he's bored, he gets results. One time he stitched a man's mouth shut for coughing. Your throat goes dry. The scribe's back at the wall, scratching symbols with new vigour. You stare at your mud-covered hand, clench it, release. That wall, if there's a way out, it has to be now. You press both palms against it, push, scratch, whisper. I'm here. Please. And from the other side, tonight, I swear it. Be ready. The witch watches you. You believe him again? You nod. Yes. She's quiet a long time. Then she says, so do I. You're not sure if it's solidarity or sarcasm, but you'll take it. The hours drag. No food, no water, just you, your broken body, your splintered arm, and the constant ache of what tomorrow might bring. At one point, the scribe sits beside you. He presses his finger to your good hand. Mark it, he whispers. 1 dot for the west path, 2 for the pit, 3 for the gate. What gate? The one under the wheel. You don't argue, you mark your palm. 3 dots, maybe they mean nothing, maybe they'll be your map. Maybe they're just madness condensed. The rats return, this time they sniff your infected shoulder. You slap them away with your good hand. The witch gives you a chunk of mouldy bread. You eat it without tasting. You lie back and stare at the stone ceiling, watching for movement, watching for cracks, watching for signs that maybe, just maybe, the world still exists above. Historical fact. Some prisoners created elaborate escape plans based on tapping codes, assumed tunnelers, and the belief that their cell connected to a sewer or catacomb system. In many cases, they dug with spoons, bones, or even broken fingernails. Most were found, some suffocated. Fringe fact? There's a tale of a young apprentice torturer in 15th century Prague who began collecting voices, cutting out the tongues of the condemned and preserving them in jars of vinegar. He claimed he could still hear them whispering at night. That same grin is coming for you tomorrow. But maybe, just maybe, you won't be here when he arrives. You spend most of the night staring at the wall, not just listening now, staring, watching, willing. The space where the mud had seeped through is dry again, but it still holds that strange softness, the kind of give that doesn't belong to stone. You press your fingers to it over and over like a prayer. It doesn't move, but it's warmer. Or maybe that's just your fever returning. The witch hasn't spoken in hours. She's lying on her side, eyes closed, breathing shallow. You think she's awake, maybe dreaming with her eyes open, or waiting for death like it's an overdue visitor. The scribe has gone completely silent. He stopped humming, stopped tapping, even stopped tracing his nonsense symbols. He's just there, slumped against the wall like a painting that's peeled itself off the plaster. It's almost morning, or what passes for morning down here. You can tell by the way the rats start retreating into the cracks again, and the guards, they make a different sound on the early shifts. They're less drunk, more mechanical, footsteps with purpose. Keys that jangle in rhythm, and today is the day, you can feel it. The apprentice is coming. You wrap your arms around your knees and stare at the wall one last time. Please, you whisper, now or never. No answer. Just the drip of water, the clink of chains, and then something new. Crack. It's faint, but it's there. You sit up wide-eyed. Crack. The sound of stone giving. You press your ear to the wall, hear nothing, then a scrape, a shudder and breath. Someone else's breath, laboured just on the other side, Obey. It's happening, you whisper. The witch opens one eye. What? The wall. She rises, slowly, stiffly, like she hasn't moved in years. She joins you at the edge. Are you sure? You nod. Listen. She presses her hand to the stone, eyes wide. Then from the other side, back up. You barely have time to move before the wall explodes. Not fully, not cleanly, just a small section, fist-sized at first, but then large enough to shove a hand through. Dust and chunks of old mortar scatter across the floor like bones from an ancient grave. The hole opens into darkness, but it's not empty. A hand reaches through, dirty, shaking, bleeding, but real. The witch gasps. You grasp the hand without thinking. It squeezes back, and you feel the desperation in it. The strength of someone who's been digging for more than time can measure. You came, you whisper. A voice replies, hoarse, alive. Only way was through. You both widen the hole together, scraping with fingers, using broken rocks to chip away more space. It's slow, agonizing. Every inch feels like a mile. The witch joins in, her hands bleed. She doesn't stop. After several minutes, there's enough space to see through. A face appears, pale, sunken, covered in grime. Eyes like yours, hollow but burning. How far does it go? The witch asks. Far, he says. But out. The scribe stirs, finally. Out! He crawls toward the hole like a moth drawn to flame. Let me see, he murmurs. You help him up. He peers through, weeping. I knew it, he whispers. The tunnels are real. The escapee, your wall whisperer, nods. 3 days crawling, sewer roots, it stinks. But there's wind. Wind, you feel it now, a faint breeze. Not much, but different. Not like dungeon air, this air has movement. A hint of earth, a whisper of sky. You look back toward the cell door. Still locked. No guards yet, but soon. How do we get through? The witch asks. Widen it, he says. Big enough to crawl. She and the scribe get to work. You sit back, dizzy, your shoulder pulses, your vision swims, then the sound you've been dreading. Footsteps, whistling, the apprentice, he's early. You freeze. Keep going, you whisper. Keep digging. You limp to the bars and press your face to them. You see him coming alone this time. No guards, just him swinging his favourite tool, a small iron rod with notches cut along the sides. Personalised, polished, loved. Well, well, he says, smiling at you. I was hoping you'd be awake. You say nothing. He stops at the bars, smirks. Don't worry. I asked nicely this time. Got my own key and everything. He pulls it out, twirls it. Then a noise behind you. Crash. A chunk of wall collapses. The apprentice's eyes narrow. What was that? You stand in front of the hole, blocking it. He cocks his head. Move. You don't. He unlocks the door and steps in. The moment he does, the witch pounces. She moves faster than you thought possible, grabs the food bucket, still crusted with weeks of filth, and smashes it into his head. He staggers back, dazed. The scribe follows, not with strength, but with fury. He throws himself at the apprentice's legs, biting, clawing, spitting. You join in, striking with your good hand. You feel his teeth crack under your fist. He shrieks, blood sprays. Then he goes limp. You don't wait. The hole is wide enough now. The witch crawls through first, then the scribe. You're last. Your shoulder catches. Pain flares. You push. Then you're through. On the other side, the tunnel is narrow, barely more than a burrow. But it's real. Mud walls, wet stoner, and a breeze that smells like outside. You crawl. Every pull forward is fire, but you don't stop. Behind you, the cell echoes with alarm, shouts, boots. Go, the witch hisses, go. Historical note, in a few rare cases, successful dungeon escapes did happen, through sewage systems, abandoned tunnels, or sheer suicidal determination. One record tells of a prisoner who clawed his way through 50 feet of stone and dirt with a spoon. It took him 5 months. He made it 10 miles before collapsing and dying just short of a town. Fringe fact, some say dungeons themselves could be escaped only by the forgotten. That if no one remembered your name, the walls let you go. Superstition probably. But maybe you crawl faster. Behind you guards scream, but ahead there is wind, and a sound you haven't heard in ages. Birdsong. The tunnel tightens after only a few yards, forcing you to flatten yourself into the damp earth, your chest pressed hard against the ground. Your face scraping along walls made of mud and old stone. The air is thick with mould and something sharp beneath it. Decay, maybe, or centuries of fear still exhaling from the dungeon's lungs. The witch crawls ahead of you, breathing hard, dragging her body like a wounded animal toward the scent of freedom. Behind you, the scribe huffs and wheezes, muttering something between every desperate pull of his limbs, something like a prayer, or code, or both. You don't look back, you don't have time. The tunnel groans behind you. A voice echoes far off. They got through the wall, followed by boots scrambling over stone, metal rattling. The sounds of order collapsing into panic. We have to move faster, the witch growls. I can't, the scribe pants. My legs! You don't wait for him to finish, you reach back with your good arm and push him forward, ignoring the screaming from your shoulder, the sparks of agony firing through your nerves. The tunnel narrows again. You feel it squeezing around you. Dirt crumbles from above, trickling into your collar, your mouth. The smell grows worse, choked with sewage, rotting wood, wet rats. But ahead, faint and fragile, is air that moves. You follow it, like a scent trail, crawling toward it with everything you have left. Then you hear it. Behind you, the scraping of boots entering the tunnel. Just one pair, moving slowly, deliberately. Someone small, the apprentice. Of course it's him. You keep crawling faster now, ignoring the way your knees are shredded by stone, the way your elbow is leaking something warm and sticky. The witch grunts and curses as she wedges herself through a turn. The scribe breathes like a man halfway drowned. The tunnel dips sharply. Your body slides forward, uncontrollably, until you land in a shallow pool of sludge. You choke as the water splashes into your mouth. It's colder here, and darker, but the ceiling rises just enough for you to kneel. For a brief second you stand stooped, hunched, but on your feet. You feel alive. You look around. You're in a junction. 2 tunnels, one left, one right. The witch turns to you. Which way? You freeze. I don't know, she squints. You had the map. You blink. The scribe, his wall markings. The scribe stumbles into the space, dripping and shaking. He's covered in cuts and scratches. He looks up. His lips are blue. 3 dots, he gasps. What? The witch snaps. On his hand. Look. You hold your hand up, faint now, but there. They remain. 3 dots. The witch grabs your wrist, inspects it, then looks toward the left path. 3 means the gate, she mutters. She turns left without waiting. You follow, pulling the scribe behind you. Behind you, the tunnel rattles. The apprentice is close. His laughter echoes, faint, high-pitched, unhinged. I'm gonna find you, he sings, dragging something metal. And when I do, we'll start with your eyes. You don't answer. The new tunnel is lower again. You have to crawl on your belly. The scribe moans, but you slap him lightly on the shoulder. Quiet, you hiss. He nods, shivering. The witch ahead calls back, I see light. You squint. It's not torchlight. It flickers. Warmer. Natural. Could it be? She vanishes around a bend. You drag yourself faster. One elbow forward, then the next. Your ribs scrape stone. Your nails split. You taste blood. The scribe's breathing gets louder. Panic in his throat. Then he screams. You spin around, almost snapping your neck. The apprentice is there. Crawling. Close. His face is smeared with dirt. His grin is full of cracked teeth. Come here, he whispers. He lunges. You kick out with your foot, smashing his nose. He howls and drops back. You grab the scribe and yank him forward. Go! The tunnel widens again, just enough. You break into a run. You don't think. You just move. And then, light. You burst through a hole in the wall, tumble down a slope of broken stone and mud, and collapse onto a floor of old flagstone. The room is wide, circular. A crumbling domed ceiling above you lets in beams of orange sunlight filtered through tangled roots and vines. There are plants, moss, birds nesting. You're in an abandoned chamber, and at the far end a gate, iron, rusted, bent in places, a small crack in the centre, wide enough to slip through. The witch is already there, pulling at it. The hinges groan but don't move. The scribe drops to his knees beside her, too tired to do anything but gasp. You stumble toward them, hand pressed to your shoulder. Behind you, movement. The apprentice, he's coming. You grab a rock. The witch turns. We have to go. Now. I'll hold him, you say, and she shakes her head. Nope, we all go. You throw the rock at the gate's hinge. It snaps. The gate sags open just enough. Through, she yells. The scribe crawls out. The witch follows. You step to the threshold, and he grabs your ankle. The apprentice, bloodied, laughing. Don't leave without your gift, he sneers. He raises his tool. You kick him. Hard. He slips backward, loses balance, falls. You don't wait to see where he lands, and you squeeze through the gap, your shoulder tearing on the iron, and collapse on the other side, outside. You breathe in air that smells of trees. The witch helps you up. You're standing in the ruins of an old stone passageway, the roof half collapsed, overgrown with vines. The sun is setting above the forest canopy. The world is green. The scribe collapses beside you and begins to sob. You made it. You actually made it. Historical note. Some dungeons were built over ancient passageways, old Roman sewers, forgotten catacombs, hidden war routes. These accidental blueprints led to a handful of real escapes, usually long after the tunnels were abandoned. Fringe fact, there are rumours of escape ghosts, apparitions of prisoners who died mid-flight, still trapped in their tunnels, guiding the desperate from beyond. Whether it was superstition or something more, many claimed their path to freedom came with a voice in the wall. You look back through the gate, no sound, no breath, just peace. For the first time in what feels like a lifetime, you're free. You don't move at first. Not out of hesitation, not even exhaustion, though your limbs are quivering like you've been through a storm, because you have, but because you don't trust the silence. You stand there on shaky legs, just a few steps into the ruined passage, bathed in golden light filtered through broken stone and ivy, and everything in you screams that this is some kind of dream, that you'll blink and find yourself chained again. Covered in rats and blood and promises that only lead to hooks, the witch places her hand on your shoulder, the good one. It's a gentle touch, the first truly human gesture you've felt since the day you were thrown into that hole. She squeezes once, then releases. We need to go, she says. You nod slowly. The scribe is kneeling nearby, running his hands through a patch of moss like he's never touched anything green before. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe it's been years, maybe longer. He lifts his fingers to his face and breathes in the earthy scent, then begins laughing softly. Not maniacally, gently, like someone watching rain for the first time in a lifetime of drought. You look back through the broken gate. The tunnel on the other side is empty. No apprentice, no guards, just darkness fading into itself. You wonder if he died in that fall. You wonder if he'll crawl back up, a twisted shape of revenge and spite. But part of you doesn't care anymore. If he comes, he'll come to daylight now, and maybe he doesn't know how to survive in daylight. The witch takes the lead, stepping over rubble with the care of someone who knows every stone could be a trap. She moves with the wary grace of a cat that's been burned too many times. You and the scribe follow. The ruined passage winds ahead, part ancient aqueduct, part overgrown ruin. Vines choke the ceiling, roots twist through cracks in the floor, and the air smells thick with dirt, water, and life. You walk in silence for a while, letting the weight of it all settle in. Your arm still aches, maybe worse now, but even that pain feels different, realer. You're out. Not free maybe, not yet, but out. After maybe half an hour you reach a small opening just wide enough to crawl through, where the stone has collapsed entirely, revealing a slope of earth leading upward. Sunlight streams in from above. You squint against it, blinking rapidly. Your eyes aren't ready. The witch looks back at you. We'll rest here, just for a bit. She climbs through first and disappears into the light. You follow, dragging your aching body up the slope, pulling yourself into brightness. The scribe is last, slower now. His breathing sounds wet, like something inside him never fully healed. Outside, you find yourself on your hill, a real one. Grass tickles your knees. There are trees, noises, wind, birds, all the things you'd convinced yourself were hallucinations. The witch is already standing, her face turned toward the sky, her eyes closed. The sun paints her hair gold. She looks younger in the light, or maybe just alive. The scribe collapses onto the ground and rolls over onto his back, giggling like a drunk child. "We did it," he says over and over. "We did it." You sit, Roth. It feels wrong at first, breathing deeply. Fresh air, the scent of pine and soil. Your lungs don't know what to do with it, but you force yourself. Inhale, exhale again, and then, all at once, it hits you. You're not underground. Not anymore. You tilt your head back, eyes wide, the sky. You forgot how blue it was, how endless, how terrifying. Tears leak down your face before you realise you're crying. The witch doesn't speak, just sits beside you and lets the quiet hold. After a while, she breaks it. "We need to keep moving, someone will come." You nod. "Where?" "There's a village north of here. If it's still standing, we keep low, avoid roads. We move at dusk." The scribe groans. "I can't walk far." "You'll try." You let the silence stretch again, then ask, "What if they find us?" She doesn't answer right away. "They won't," she says, "if we don't stop, if we don't act like prey." You nod again. She looks at you. "What will you do if we make it?" You shake your head. "I don't know. You had a family." You think of your daughter's role, the way she melted in your fever dream, the way her voice sounded in your ears, whispering nonsense and lullabies and your name. "I did," you say. Don't know if they're still waiting. She doesn't push further, just looks out at the trees, then says, "I'll tell you something." You turn toward her. "I was a witch," she says, smiling faintly. Not the kind they meant, not the kind they feared, but the kind who knows. Knows what? Plants, remedies, weather. The things old women pass down to daughters before their names disappear. "Is that why they took you?" She shrugs. "No. They took me because I told a magistrate he had a spider in his liver." You blink. "Did he?" "Died a week later. Pain in his side swelled up and burst." You laugh just once. Then again. "It hurts, but you don't stop." She grins. "There it is." "What?" "Your voice. You hadn't laughed since I met you." You shake your head. "Didn't have much reason." "Well," she says, standing again, "now you do." The scribe struggles to his feet. He looks like he might collapse any second, but he smiles. "What about you?" you ask him. "What will you do?" He thinks. "Write it down," he says. "All of it. No one will believe you." "I don't care," he says. "It'll still be real." Historical fact. Escaped prisoners were often hunted down in medieval times, especially if they had been branded or tattooed as criminals. Many lived the rest of their lives as outlaws, hiding in forests or remote villages. Some joined bandit groups, others vanished. Fringe fact? There were tales of entire underground communities, escaped convicts, exiled witches, deserters, who built hidden lives in the woods, in caves, in ruins, places untouched by lords or priests, whispers of their fires, their gatherings, there are names carved into old trees. Never confirmed, always denied. You stand. The sun warms your face, and behind you, that dungeon shrinks in your mind. Not gone, but quieter. You made it out. You might not be safe yet, but you're free. You move at dusk, just like she said. The witch leads, silent and alert, slipping between trees with the natural rhythm of someone who's had to disappear before. You follow her, step by step, every part of you still aching, but now with a strange sense of forward momentum. Not hope exactly. Hope is still too sharp, too bright, but something quieter, heavier, like obligation. You're not crawling for freedom anymore. You're walking in, and that means staying alive. The scribe limps behind, doing his best to match the pace. He groans sometimes, mutters to himself. You offer your shoulder to him when the terrain slopes, and though it makes your own pain burn brighter, you grit your teeth and carry him anyway. He doesn't thank you, he just nods. That's enough. The woods stretch for miles. Dense, quiet. brimming with the low hum of nature. Insects buzz, birds flit overhead. Somewhere far off a river rushes. The witch leads you away from open clearings, avoiding paths, trails, even game tracks. She pauses often to listen. Her ears twitch at the snap of a twig, the flutter of leaves. You realise, in a strange way, she's more comfortable out here than most people ever are indoors. After an hour, you come to a ridge. Below it, smoke. Just one thin curl, barely visible in the dusky light. The scribe drops beside a tree, breathing heavily. Camp? The witch shakes her head. Smoke means people. We don't know which kind yet. Could be travellers, you say. Could be bounty hunters. Could be worse. You scan the treetops, no sign of movement. What do we do? She considers. Then, we wait. Watch. Move again at full dark. So you settle in beneath the trees. The witch gathers leaves and loose pine needles, crafting something that vaguely resembles bedding. You and the scribe lie on bare dirt. It's better than straw soaked in blood. The sky darkens. Stars appear, slowly, one by one, like old friends shy to show their faces. You forgot how many there were, how quiet the world becomes when the only light is skyborn and the only sound is wind. The witch builds no fire. Of course not. Fire is a beacon. Fire is a mistake. You eat mossy bread from her bag, something she snatched before the escape. It's stale and dense but real. The scribe chews like it's a banquet. Then in the dark, the witch speaks. Have I told you about the Spanish tickler? You blink. Excuse me. She smiles. You've heard of it, I bet, but not the real version. You glance at the scribe. He's suddenly very still. There wasn't just a claw, she continues. It was heated first, glowed like a forge. They didn't use it for torture exactly. They used it to confirm guilt. How? She raises her hand in the shape of a claw. Ripped flesh from bone. If you screamed, you were guilty. If you died, you were guilty. If you survived long enough to beg to die, guilty. You swallow hard. Sounds like a win-win, you mutter. For them, she says. The scribe shudders. They used it in my town. Hung it above the church door as a warning. Did you see it used? You ask. He nods slow. A baker. Accused of poisoning grain, they stripped him, tied him to a post, pulled until his chest opened like an oven. You go quiet. After a moment, the witch says, they called it the tickler because the name made people laugh, until they saw it. You close your eyes. Silence returns, but not the peaceful kind. You lie awake a long time, your back against a tree, the stars blinking down. Your body finally still, but your mind racing. The apprentice's voice still echoes in your ears. The scraping of chains. The priest's words. You are not recorded. You glance at your palm. The 3 dots are still faintly there. The scribe speaks, voice low. I've been thinking, you grunt. If they weren't going to let us out, if they never planned to, why keep us at all? Why not just kill us and make space? The witch answers before you can. 'Cause bodies rot, and rot smells, and smells raise questions. You nod slowly. But if you scream long enough, they can say they tried. That you didn't confess, that you chose your end. The scribe shakes his head. And what if none of it was about guilt? Or crime? What if it was just about keeping people scared? It was, the witch says. Always was. You all go quiet again. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls. You finally speak. So what now? Now, the witch echoes. Yes, what do we do now? She sits up, cracks her knuckles. We survive. That's it? That's everything, she tears. You lie back, staring at the trees. The moon is rising now, pale and perfect. It doesn't care what happened to you, but it shines anyway. Historical fact, the Spanish tickler, also known as the cat's paw, was a real torture device. It was used to tear flesh from bones, often in public executions. Victims rarely died quickly. It was designed for spectacle, for the crowd. Fringe fact, some versions of the tickler were inscribed with names, often of saints. The irony was intentional. Let the saints witness the truth, they'd say. No one ever asked the saints for comment. You listen to the sounds of the forest. No chains, no screams, no dripping ceilings. And despite yourself, you begin to drift. Just a little. Your eyes flutter closed. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, you sleep. No cell, no iron, just stars. You wake to laughter. Not the hysterical kind that makes your gut clench like it used to in the dungeon, but something softer, strange-as. The kind of laugh that creeps out of people who've gone too far past the edge and found something funny on the other side. You sit up fast, panicked, heart pounding, hand reaching for a rock or a stick, anything you can throw or stab, but it's just the scribe. He's crouched near a tree holding something in his trembling fingers. Something tiny, shiny. You crawl closer, groggy, bones creaking. What is it? He turns, beaming, tears in his eyes. It's a rosary bead, he says, holding it up like a jewel. From the priest, maybe. It's real. You stare. It is a rosary bead. Wood, polished, darkened by time. Still intact, strung on a bit of old twine. You don't even know how it survived the dungeon, or how the scribe has it. Maybe he found it in the tunnel. Maybe he carried it in his teeth for weeks. Maybe he imagined it. The witch sits against a nearby tree, arms folded, watching the whole scene with narrowed eyes. Congratulations, she mutters. It's a sign, the scribe says, standing now, holding it high. We're saved. You watch as he closes his fist around it and raises it above his head like he's leading some holy procession through the woods. He forgives us, he announces. We've been redeemed, the witch snorts. If that little thing's your god, you should pick a louder one. He doesn't hear her, or pretends not to. He spins in a slow circle, muttering prayers, blessing the trees, blessing the sky, blessing his own feet. You sit back on your heels watching him, not laughing, not joining him either. It's not that you don't want to believe, you just know too much now. After a few minutes, the scribe kneels, kisses the bead, and tucks it into the folds of his filthy shirt. His face is wet with tears. Joy, or something like it. The witch rises, dusts herself off. Come on, we've got miles to go before we start quoting saints. You move again, deeper into the woods, keeping low. The sun climbs slow through the branches. The wind is gentle today. Too gentle. It carries birdsong, yes, but also something under it. You can feel it in your chest, tension, like a string pulled tight. The witch senses it too. She crouches often, sniffing the air, examining crushed grass, broken twigs. Her hands linger over markings on bark that you don't even notice until she points them out. Slashed lines, blackened knots. Hunters, she mutters. Or worse. You keep going. Hours pass. At some point you find the road. Not a wide one. Barely a path, just the suggestion of travel, ruts in the earth, boot prints faded by rain, a tuft of wool caught on a bramble. The witch stops you. We don't cross it, she says. Why not? Because hope is a joke here. You frown. What do you mean? She kneels in the brush, pulls something from her pocket. The rosary bead. The scribe gasps. How did you... I swapped it when he wasn't looking, she says. He's been blessing nothing but a wooden button. You stare at her, stunned. Why? She shrugs. Because the second he believes he's saved, he's vulnerable. Hope makes people stupid. The scribe is watching, slack-jawed, face falling apart. You lied. She tosses the bead at his feet. I lied so you'd keep moving. That's survival. He doesn't pick it up, just stares at the ground, hands trembling. You're cruel, you say quietly. No, she says. I'm realistic. Cruel is what they did to us. I'm just trying to keep us alive. You stand in the silence that follows, unsure who you agree with. You step across the road anyway. Just a step. Nothing happens. No arrow, no blade, no shouted order. Still you feel it. The exposure, the moment of being seen even if no one's there. The scribe doesn't move. I'm staying to... he says, voice flat. You and the witch turn. What? You ask. He nods. This is far enough. I don't need more. I have the bead. I have the memory of the trees. That's more than I ever thought I'd have. You want to argue, but the words don't come. He lies down in the brush, on his side, like he's curling into the earth itself. The witch doesn't stop him. She just walks. You follow? Because the only thing worse than being alone now would be being alone again. You travel in silence, the woods grow darker. The sun dims behind clouds. And then, something ahead. Smoke. Not one curl, several. You drop to the ground. The witch beside you. She peers through the brush, whispers, camp, 6 tents, horses, You breathe shallow. Guards? Worse, bounty riders. How can you tell? They don't carry shackles, just weapons. You press your face to the dirt. It smells like moss and rot. What do? We wait for night. Go wide. As you lie there, stomach growling, heart thudding, you think about the scribe. You wonder if he's praying, or if he's already been found. Historical fact. During the medieval era, religious trinkets, rosaries, saint medallions, relics were believed to protect against not just death, but memory. People thought if you died with one in hand, your name would live, or at least be known to God. Fringe fact. In a remote monastery, monks kept records of the forgotten, prisoners and heretics who vanished without trial. They wrote names in ash on parchment made from human skin and whispered them into stone walls during prayer. A secret archive of souls burned during a raid. Or so the story goes. Night falls, you keep low, you move quietly, and hope, for once, doesn't get you killed. Not yet. You've stopped counting days. Time out here feels strange, liquid, shifting. There's the sun when it shows, and the moon when it doesn't. But you've slept so little and moved so much that everything blurs into one endless escape. The witch keeps you moving, always in the trees, always under cover, never more than a whisper above breath. She checks every footstep like she's expecting the ground to swallow her whole. But tonight is different. Tonight, no one comes, no guards, no riders, no far-off dogs howling through the trees, no light flickering in the distance, not even the rustle of other travellers passing nearby. It's the absence that unnerves you most, like the world has quietly agreed to forget you exist. And after everything you've been through, you're not sure that's a good thing. You and the witch are camped in the curve of a dry creek bed. The stones beneath you are slick with moss and memory. And above, branches twist like crooked fingers. You lie back, trying to rest, but sleep won't come. Not tonight. Your body's given up. It's simply waiting to expire. Your shoulders swollen again, pulsing like it's growing a heartbeat of its own. You can't lift your arm without wanting to scream. But you don't scream. You haven't made a sound in days. That's the new rule. Silence equals survival. The witch hasn't spoken either. She's just sitting there, eyes wide open, staring into the dark, watching the forest like it owes her something. Maybe it does. You shift onto your side, looking for comfort in a patch of ferns and realise something strange. There's no food left, no crust, no mouldy bread chunk. Not even the root she scraped from the last stump. The bag's been empty since midday. You didn't say anything. Neither did she. And now that hunger is truly here, now that it knocks, the silence deepens. You whisper finally, "Are we going to starve?" She doesn't answer. The wind rustles above you. For a moment you imagine it carrying voices. Soft ones, distant, familiar. Your name, maybe. Your daughter's laugh. A dog barking. All fabrications. You know better. You sit up. There's a flicker in the air. Not light exactly, just motion. You scan the trees. Nothing. But it feels like something's changed. The witch notices too. Her head snaps toward the same place yours just turned. She stares for a long time. "I think," she finally says, "they forgot about us." You blink. "What?" She hugs her knees. "The dungeon, the guards, the ones who tortured us. I think we've been gone long enough they stopped looking. We're not worth the trouble anymore." You stare at her. Is that good? She shrugs. "I don't know, but it means we're alone." You chew that over. The idea of being truly alone. Not hiding, not running, just left. "Isn't that what we wanted?" you ask. She laughs once. "We wanted out. That's not the same thing." You lie back again, your eyes fixed on the stars. They look closer tonight, brighter. "I thought freedom would feel like something," you say. She doesn't answer. You hear her rise. Her footsteps crunch lightly on the creek stones. You close your eyes, trying to ignore the pain throbbing through your limbs. Then something strange happens. The witch starts humming. Low, soft, a lullaby. You recognize the tune. You don't know how. Maybe your mother sang it. Maybe it's one of those songs older than language. The kind of melody that drips into stone, hides in the roots of trees, waits. You listen. Let it wash over you. And for the first time in days, your muscles relax. Your breath evens out. You almost sleep. Then something snaps in the woods. You're up in an instant. The witch stops humming. You both crouch low, straining your ears. Nothing. Then a distant rhythmic knock. Clink. Pause. Clink. Pause. Clink. It's not metal. It's wood. You share a look. The witch mouths the word staff. You wait. A shape appears between the trees. One person. Hooded. Tall. Lean. Moving wholly. Not hunting. Just walking. He stops a few paces from your camp. Doesn't say a word. You hold your breath. The witch stands, half crouched, poised to run or strike. The man speaks. I'm not here for you. His voice is gravel. Old. Measured. You answer cautiously. And why are you here? He pulls something from his cloak and tosses it gently to the ground. A wrapped parcel. It lands near the fireless pit you never lit. Food, he says. And this. He sets something else down. A water skin. You stay frozen. The witch moves first. She steps forward, snatches the items, backs away. He doesn't follow. She unwraps the parcel. Bread, real bread, not dungeon crust. Still warm, fresh. You don't understand. Who are you, you ask. The man smiles faintly. Someone who listens to walls. The witch's head tilts. You're one of them. He nods. There are more? He doesn't answer directly, just says, we used to be prisoners, like you. Now we help the ones who escape. She stares at him. Why? Because no one else does. You eat the bread slowly. You don't even care that it might be poisoned. If it is, it's the kindest death you'll ever know. The man steps back into the trees. Don't go to the village, there's talk. Names passed around yours. You freeze. How? Someone sold your story. Maybe the apprentice survived. Maybe a guard whispered for coin. Doesn't matter. The witch growls. We'll kill them. The man shakes his head. No need. Time will. Where should we go, you ask? Troubles. He looks at you for a long time, then west, follow the river. And he's gone. Just like that. You don't follow. You don't even move. Just sit in the dark, bread in hand, and wonder how many others like him are out there. How many forgotten ones built lives in the shadows. How many chose to stay hidden. How many wait by moonlight, listening for desperate whispers in stone. Historical fact, escapees were often helped by underground networks, sympathetic monks, exiled clergy, even retired soldiers disgusted with the system. These shadow paths were dangerous, disorganized but real. Many lived and died in anonymity, rescuing people they'd never meet again. Fringe fact, some believed former prisoners could hear others through stone, that after enough time in the dark something inside them changed, gave them an ear for pain, a sense for lost souls. The church called them cursed. Survivors called them saints. You watch the trees long after he disappears, and for the first time you start to believe maybe no one's ever truly alone, not even here. You follow the river west. It takes a day before you find it. A narrow ribbon of water snaking through a break in the forest. Too shallow to wade from, too swift to wade across without risk. Still, it's beautiful, clean, colder. You drop to your knees beside it and drink greedily, splashing handfuls onto your face, into your mouth, down your throat. It's the kind of cold that hurts your teeth and makes your stomach ache, but you keep going anyway. You'd forgotten what real water tasted like. Not metal, not mold, not whatever was leaking from the ceiling back in that stone hell. The witch drinks slower, controlled. She never lets herself indulge, not fully, not even now. You suspect she believes comfort is a trap. Let your guard down and the world will strike. Maybe she's right. But today you let it strike anyway. You spend the afternoon walking along the bank, boots slipping on wet stones, your shoulder throbbing in time with your footsteps. The witch keeps glancing behind you, never fully trusting the silence. She hasn't said much since the man with the staff. She didn't question his story. She didn't ask where he came from or how many more like him are out there. She just listened, like she already knew. The day is hot. The kind of heavy, humid heat that soaks your clothes and makes every breath feel like you're drinking the air. Bugs swarm in clouds. Your skin itches, but the light filters through the trees in long golden beams, and the sound of the river is almost music. You could almost forget the screaming. Almost. When night falls, You make camp near a cluster of boulders that lean like they were once part of something larger. Maybe a wall, maybe a forgotten monument. Whatever they were, they offer shelter. You collapse against one, too exhausted to even look for food. You have a crust left from the bundle the stranger gave you, and the witch rations it into 2 equal halves. She eats in silence. So do you. Then she breaks it. We won't survive much longer like this. You nod, crumbs on your lips. I know. We need shelter, supplies, information. People. She nods, reluctant. You both sit there for a long moment, listening to the river. Then she says, "There's someone we could find, but it's dangerous." You turn to her. Everything's dangerous. She was one of us. Before, in the dungeons. Escaped? The witch nods. Long before us. She knew how to move, how to vanish, set up a place in the hills, they said, a haven. You think she's still alive? She was too angry to die. That makes you smile. What's her name? The witch stares at the fireless embers of a memory. Rana. They called her the Queen's Spy. The name hits like a stone skipping across still water. She was real? Very. I thought she was a rumour. Some prisoner's bedtime story. The witch glances sideways. So were we. Fair. Do you know where to find her? Maybe. You don't push. You've learned not to. You fall asleep with the sound of water nearby, the moon glowing through the trees, and the witch muttering directions in her sleep. When you wake, it's not sunlight that stirs you. It's tapping. Not behind the wall this time, not inside your skull. Real tapping, nearby, rhythmic. The witch is already awake, crouched low with the stick in one hand and a sharp stone in the other. You crawl to her side and peek past the boulder. A boy, maybe 11, alone, barefoot, wearing a tunic that's half torn and crusted with mud. He's standing at the riverbank with a stick, tapping it on a rock as he watches the water. The witch hisses under her breath. Scouts, you nod. Bait. You're about to duck back down when the boy speaks. Are you them? He calls out, not looking at you. The ones who broke the apprentice? You freeze. So does the witch. He turns his head only slightly. You should keep moving, he says. They're setting traps now. You don't speak. He taps the stick again, faster. My mother says you're cursed, that the dungeon never lets go, that the ones who escape are ghosts. The witch speaks, soft and cold. Do we look like ghosts? He doesn't answer. Then, they talk about you like you're devils, that you whispered to the walls, that you slit the torturer's throat while laughing. You and the witch exchange a glance. None of that's true, or Utoptung. The boy shrugs. Doesn't matter. That's the story now. He walks away without another word, disappearing into the trees. You stand slow. He saw us, you say. Told others. The witch nods. We can't stay long. Do we still go after Rana? She looks at the river, then west, then back at you. We have no choice. You set off again, more aware now, more hunted. The freedom you thought you'd tasted just days ago now starts to feel like something else. A spotlight. You're not just escaped, you're legend, and legends don't hide for long. By dusk, the river curves sharply around a cliffside, and the witch stops at a tree marked with 3 slashes, one above the other. Here, she says. She kneels beside a moss-covered stone, clears the dirt, and pulls free a flat piece of wood. Beneath it, a tunnel, hand-dug, cramped, black as pitch. Rana's path, she says. You both stare at it. She's down there, you ask. Or what's left of her? Historical fact, escaped prisoners in medieval Europe often became folk legends, their names twisted into myths, their crimes exaggerated or invented entirely. Survivors were painted as devils or heroes depending on who was telling the tale and why. Fringe fact, in parts of France and Germany, escaped prisoners were said to carry the dungeon sickness, a curse that made animals flee and crops fail. Villages would chase them off with torches, or worse, capture them and sell them back to their jailers for coin and absolution. The witch looks at you. You first, she says. Of course, you drop into the tunnel, darkness swallows you, and the earth holds its breath, the earth closes around you like a fist. The tunnel is barely wider than your shoulders, forcing you to crawl with one arm dragging uselessly at your side, the other pushing against cold, damp soil. Roots brush your face, some soft like hair, others thick and knotted like fingers trying to pull you down. You move forward slowly, inch by inch, the silence pressing against your ears until your own breath is the loudest thing in the world. Behind you, the witch drops into the tunnel. You hear her boots crunch softly as she begins to crawl. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. You're both here now, swallowed by the same memory of the place you fled. The darkness, the damp, the knowledge that no matter how far you run, part of you will always belong underground. You try not to panic, but your body remembers. It remembers shackles, screaming, the sick sweetness of rot. Every inch forward feels like a betrayal of your freedom. Every breath of stale, wet air reminds you that you escaped once already, and here you are, crawling back into the underworld. But there's no going back. The tunnel twists downward, deeper. The slope steepens and soon you're sliding more than crawling, boots skidding over mud-slicked stone, shoulder scraping against jagged walls. Your bad arm screams with each jolt, but you bite down and keep moving. Eventually, the tunnel opens into a chamber. Low ceiling. Packed dirt walls reinforced with timber, some half-rotted, others scored with old claw marks. A small fire pit glows in the centre, embers only. Faint but warm. The air is thick with smoke and damp, the kind of heat that wraps itself around your skin like a wet cloth. The witch emerges behind you. She doesn't speak. She just stands beside you and stares into the dark beyond the firelight. And then, a voice. "You brought ghosts into my house." You both freeze. From the far wall, a woman steps forward. Tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes like knife points. Her hair is grey at the roots and tangled at the ends. Her clothes are layers of stitched-together wool and fur, like armour made from memory. She carries no visible weapon, but she doesn't need one. Her voice alone cuts deep. The witch nods. "Rana." The woman eyes her. "Still breathing, I see. I told you not to come back. We need help." "No," Rana says flatly. "You want refuge. You need to stop running." You finally find your voice. Are you her? The Queen's spy? She snorts. That title's dead. Like the Queen. Like the crown. Like the lies that kept the dungeon full. She steps forward into the firelight and finally meets your gaze. "And who are you?" You open your mouth, but stop. You don't know anymore. A name? A profession? A charge? A scream? "I was forgotten," you say. She stares at you for a long time, then nods. Good. The ones with names are the first to die. You're ushered into the chamber fully now. There are crates stacked along one wall, a woven mat on the floor, a crude water barrel filled with moss to keep it cool. Everything smells of roots and iron and smoke. It shouldn't feel like safety, but it does. The witch lowers herself onto the mat. "We came from the dungeon beneath the citadel." "I know the one," Rana says. "They carved it too deep. Even the walls scream." "I escaped," you say quietly, "but I don't know who I am anymore." Rana doesn't react, just sits across from you and tosses another scrap of wood onto the embers. "You're not supposed to know. That's the price. You get out, but they take what you were." You close your eyes. "Then what's the point?" "The point," Rana says, "is what comes after. You build something new, something they can't erase." "Like this?" you ask. Glancing around the chamber, she chuckles. "This? No, this is temporary. I've had 12 hideouts since I escaped. Burned half of them myself when the wrong people started sniffing around, but each one bought someone a few more days above ground." The witch lifts her head. "There's a boy. In the woods. Said they're setting traps." Rana's face hardens. "Then we move. Tonight. We? You're not staying here," she snaps. "This place is ashes already. They probably saw your tracks. You think the boy came alone?" You stand. "Where do we go?" She eyes you carefully. "You sure you want to keep running?" You hesitate, then, "No." She smiles for the first time. It's not warm, but it's real. "Good. Then you're ready." She rises, moves to one of the crates and pries it open. Inside, old clothes, maps, dried roots, salted meat wrapped in cloth. She tosses you a shirt. It smells better than you do. You put it on anyway. "There's a route north," she says, "through the marsh. Leads to an abandoned priory. Nobody goes there. Too many ghosts." You almost laugh. "That's supposed to be reassuring," she smirks. They're scared of people like you. You glance at the witch. She's already up, pulling on a coat that looks like it's been through 2 wars and a plague. You ask, "What's at the Priory?" Rana pauses. "People." "Good people." She shrugs. "They're alive. That's enough." You gather your things, what little there is, a rag for your shoulder, a piece of dried meat. Half a map sketched in charcoal on parchment so thin it might dissolve in your hand. Then you follow Rana into the tunnel beyond the chamber. Narrower, colder, steeper. You realise she's had this path ready for a long time. Prepared, expecting, waiting for someone to crawl out of the dark and ask for something more than survival. Historical fact. Escaped prisoners who survived long enough often formed resistance cells. Networks of runaways, heretics and deserters who communicated through hidden symbols, underground routes and secret gatherings. These cells were rarely acknowledged in official histories but were instrumental in sabotaging local authorities. Fringe fact. Some said former dungeon inmates could sense traps, like the trauma rewired their brains. They'd stop mid-step, avoiding snares or ambushes without knowing why. Folklore claimed it was the ghosts guiding them, whispering, "Not here, not now." You move deeper into the tunnel, the witch ahead of you, Rana behind. The earth hums around you, not with death anymore, with purpose. And for the first time since your escape, you realise something. You're not running anymore. You're walking towards something. The Priory isn't much when you finally reach it. Just ruins, really. Walls sagging under ivy. A half-collapsed chapel with stained glass so faded it looks like watercolour bleeding in the rain. But there are signs of life. Carefully laid stones over a cook fire, blankets drying on a line. Someone hums inside the remains of what used to be the dormitory. When they see you, they don't ask questions, just nod. Like they've seen enough people like you crawl out of dirt and memory to know what it costs. You sleep under the rafters that night, the witch beside you, Rana standing watch. Your shoulder still aches, your feet are raw, but no one's screaming, no one's dragging chains. You even dream, a little, of sunlight, of your daughter's face, of birdsong that doesn't echo through stone. The next morning they offer you a bowl of soup, thin but warm. You don't ask where the ingredients came from, you just eat. Later Rana gives you a knife. "You're one of us now," she says. "A shadow among the forgotten, a ghost with teeth. And somehow that doesn't feel like a curse. It feels like a beginning. So you stay, you heal, you help, and someday maybe someone else will claw their way out of that dungeon and come stumbling through the woods, lost, bloody, alone. And when they do, you'll be there. Not as a prisoner, not as a victim, but as a light in the dark. Just like someone once was for you. Because even in the deepest pit, even in the blackest corner of the world, something small survives. A whisper, a hand through the wall, a way out."